Chapter 253. Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In fact, it was not the first time that Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In the ordinary fishery and the level 1 fishery, this speed was indeed fast, but at that time there was no comparison. Ever since he caught exotic creatures with Luo Xiaobai and the others in the level 2 fishery, Han Fei had felt it. None of them was slower than him, even if he used the wandering dragon art. However, on second thought, the wandering dragon art was only a mortal-level divine quality combat skill deduced from 1,000 points of spiritual energy. Although he was already a great fishing master, he was not bad. However, when he was chased by the phantom fish, Han Fei found that he couldn't get rid of these phantom fish no matter how hard he tried. "Do I have to use little gold?" Han Fei frowned slightly. He didn't plan to expose little gold now. Who knew if others would see it? However, Han Fei didn't panic. Although the wandering dragon art couldn't get rid of these phantom fish, it always kept a distance of 7 or 8 meters. Even if a few fast phantom fish rushed up occasionally, they were no match for Little Black. So, a strange scene appeared in the secret realm of the fiery mountain. A person was swimming at full speed, but there was nothing behind him, only the rolling water. After only half an hour, Han Fei saw a boy he didn't know killing a few horseshoe crabs. The man was still struggling. Horseshoe crabs were level 30 creatures. It was already difficult for him to deal with a few of them at the same time. When the man saw Han Fei swimming towards him crazily, he was shocked. "Is he coming for me?" "Huh? Han Fei?" The boy's eyes almost popped out. "Did I offend you? I'm killing my three-eyed crayfish. Why are you running towards me?" Immediately, the boy stopped fighting and began to slip away. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. "Although we both slip away, I have thousands of troops. How can I be the same as you?" Han Fei immediately said to him via voice transmission, the one in front, "Give me your fiery mountain token and I'll let you go." The man responded, "Han Fei, don't go too far. I didn't offend you. If you really push me too hard, I'll fight you to the death." Han Fei shook his head. "Just from your words, I know you're a man. Fine, I'll fight it out with you." The person in front was scared out of his wits. "Why are you so King honest? I'm just messing with you, okay?" Was there a need to risk his life? Although Han Fei's speed was not as fast, he was at least a little faster than the one in front. Although the wandering dragon art was only a mortal-grade combat skill, it was a divine-grade combat skill. It wasn't enough to compete with the top, but it was more than enough to compete with the bottom. Seeing that Han Fei was getting closer and closer to him, the man turned around and shot a spiritual energy arrow at Han Fei's face. Bang! Han Fei smashed the spiritual energy arrow with a punch and continued to say, "How dare you? Take an arrow from me!" The man in front looked back and his face turned green. Han Fei was swimming while drawing his bow. "Xiao!" the boy in front of him cried. He turned around and shot 3 arrows, but none of them could break Han Fei's arrow. Wait, the arrow was skewed? The young man was dumbfounded. Did I just waste the spiritual energy of 3 arrows? Han Fei didn't draw the bow anymore. Just now, when he pulled the bow, dozens of ghost fish slashed at him, causing more wounds to appear on his body, which had just recovered. The young man asked, "Han Fei, what do I have to do to make you stop? It's a waste of time for you to chase me like this. Give me your fiery mountain token, or I will chase you until I die. I can take you down in at most half an hour. Think about it yourself." The young man was speechless. How could he be so unlucky? As soon as he came in, he met such a silly guy. The key was that he was at least one of the top 50 masters. With a swish, a red token was thrown out and the young man cursed. "Here you go. Han Fei, don't be so rude. We'll meet again in the future." Han Fei smiled. "Okay, since you're so generous, I won't embarrass you. Let's go." Han Fei took the fish, turned a corner, and ran in another direction. Before coming, Xiao Zhan said that although this place was dangerous, it was best not to kill people deliberately. Han Fei felt that there was no need to kill people. These were the elites of the Blue Sea Town, and they had no grudge against him, so there was no need to kill them. If he really chased them with the ghost fish, needless to say, the guy in front of him would definitely not be able to resist. Even he might not be able to resist them, let alone him. The 9-star chain behind Han Fei was still weaving and swinging, and more than hundreds of ghost fish had died under the 9-star chain and Little Black's hands. Ghost fish brothers, don't be so stubborn, right? Can't you just chase me for a while? Why are you so stubborn? Han Fei was speechless. These ghost fish were like fools. I just killed a few hundred of your brothers. Why have you been chasing me until now? Swimming and running all the way, Han Fei found that the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain was very large, at least 1,000 kilometers in radius. After running for a long time, including the young man before, Han Fei only met 3 people in total. And he had swum at least 200 kilometers. That thing. Piercing electricity jellyfish? Han Fei was very surprised. He saw a large number of piercing electricity jellyfish. At this moment, these jellyfish were surrounding their friends and releasing little lightning to play. Along the way, all the fish that Han Fei encountered ran away, except for these piercing electricity jellyfish, which didn't run fast. Without thinking, Han Fei immediately put away Little Black, Little White, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and rushed over. Wasn't it just a few electric shocks? How many times had he been electrocuted? How many times had he been electrocuted? After a moment, buzz, 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 Han Fei. $. Han Fei's body was covered with piercing electricity jellyfish. Oh my God, he had become a humanoid generator. At this moment, Han Fei was so shocked that his eyes almost rolled back and his whole body was trembling. Han Fei was still wondering if he could still lose weight after being electrocuted in this situation. Of course, this was a digression. The main thing was that the group of ghost fish were no longer ghosts after being electrocuted. A large number of ghost fish were electrocuted and floated up, belly up. They didn't have Han Fei's terrifying resistance. They were just fish and their mouths were full of water. Han Fei found that the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were much more visible. Although they still looked a bit like a puddle of water to the naked eye, at least they were visible and could emit electric currents from time to time. While twitching, Han Fei tried to pounce on the ghost fish. One after another, the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were collected into Forge the Universe by Han Fei. In total, he had collected thousands of ghost fish. Han Fei activated a spiritual energy protective cover and then burst out his spiritual energy. Boom! A group of piercing electricity jellyfish was shattered by Han Fei, and the latter hurriedly ran away. Those piercing electricity jellyfish chased after him, but unfortunately, slow speed was their natural disadvantage. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei disappeared. Inside Forge the Universe, Han Fei cut off the fish heads one by one and threw the ghost beads into his mouth one by one. Han Fei was very excited. It had only been less than 2 hours since he came in, but his spiritual perception range had increased a lot. Han Fei didn't know how many ghost beads he had swallowed. When his perception range reached 200 meters, it couldn't increase anymore, and the ghost beads lost their effect. The point was that he still had more than 300 ghost beads at the moment. Phew! That's enough. It's just 2 hours. It's worth 2 months of meditation. I've made a fortune. Han Fei suddenly appeared on a stone. Looking around, there was no movement. Occasionally, iron-head fish and some cuttlefish swam by. These were all ordinary creatures, worthless, so Han Fei didn't pay attention to them. Han Fei quietly swam in the water, like a big fish. He wondered if there was a combat skill that could turn him into a fish. If there was such a combat skill, it would be very convenient in the ocean. As long as he was strong enough, he could go wherever he wanted. Half an hour later, Han Fei was still moving towards the mountain. But when he was halfway there, he found a gap between two big stones. Han Fei didn't pay attention to this, but he saw the remains of a sea serpent near the entrance of the cave. It seemed to have been dead for a long time, and even the body had been eaten up by horseshoe worms. Huh? Is there someone in the cave? Han Fei immediately took out a piece of black fish skin and covered his face. On second thought, he put away the knife and replaced it with a stick. After changing his attire, he quietly snuck in. Less than 100 meters into the cave, Han Fei saw a large number of rare sapphire crabs. These sapphire crabs were not small. Some were smashed, some were pierced by knives and swords, and some were shot by arrows. Han Fei was shocked. There was more than one person here. Chapter 254. Skimming past piles of crab shells and swimming less than 1,000 meters, Han Fei vaguely heard the sound of fighting. Han Fei's eyes lit up and he continued to move forward. After a while, the space in front of him suddenly opened up. In such a large lava cave-like place, quartz crystals were everywhere inserted on the rock walls. Han Fei hid on the side and looked out, only to see that 2 boys and 1 girl were fighting a big lobster. The point was that the 2 big pincers of this lobster were in a state of detachment, just suspended on both sides of the red lobster. And these pincers were spinning like a top. Han Fei narrowed his eyes and data appeared. Name: Iron Wall Lobster. Introduction: It has flexible iron arms and can attack like a catapult. Because it is good at drilling into the ground, its pincers are extremely flexible. Its 2 pincers can also be refined into magic weapons. Level 33 Quality, Exotic Quality, contains spiritual energy 2192 points, edible effect, it can enhance one's chi and blood. Collectible lobster pincers, absorbable. Han Fei frowned. A level 33 exotic creature? That's awesome. Among the large creatures he had seen so far, it could be ranked in the top 10. As for the other 3 boys, Han Fei didn't know any of them. One of them was fighting with a bow. As for the other 2, one was holding a spear and the other was using a knife. At this moment, the 3 of them were fighting with the iron wall lobster. Almost all the attacks were blocked by the pair of pincers, and sparks flashed from time to time. Han Fei glanced at them and then looked into the cave, only to find a small sea tree growing in the center of the cave. The stick was straight, the body was pure silver, and there was a silver fruit on the top. Name: Snow Silver Bamboo. Introduction: The treasure bamboo bred by the Silver Crystal Mine can be refined into an ultra-quality magic weapon. Bamboo bears silver fruits, which can strengthen the muscles and bones. Level 30 Quality, Ultra-Quality Treasure Bamboo. Quality, Ultra-Quality Treasure Bamboo. Collectible Snow Silver Fruit, absorbable. Seeing this snow silver bamboo, Han Fei drooled. In the sea, it was not difficult to encounter bamboo trees. For example, there were many in the deep-sea jungle. However, it was very difficult to encounter bamboo trees of good quality. This was especially true for those with fruits on them. Almost all of them were the best among their peers. For example, the purple bamboo tree was an ultra-quality in the ordinary fishery, but it was only mortal level. Han Fei glanced at the snow silver bamboo, and then at the iron wall lobster. What if I want both? No, not just 2, but 3 fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei was not in a hurry anymore. He just hid on the side and thought to himself, go ahead and fight. Once the fight is over, I'm here to harvest. There was simply no one who could be the fisherman. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. The bow-wielding girl roared and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the spiritual energy arrow. An arrow was shot out. The arrow suddenly made a sharp turn in the air, and shot directly under the lobster. Chi-Chi, the iron wall prawn, was furious. It threw out a large pincer and smashed it towards the girl, as if it wanted to smash her to pieces. However, the spear-wielding young man attacked with all his spiritual energy. Bang! The pincer flew out and broke countless quartz crystal pillars. The blade-wielding youth took the opportunity to drill into the iron-walled prawn's abdomen. Suddenly, a gash several meters wide appeared in the iron-walled prawn's body. Han Fei couldn't help but be surprised. The three of them almost killed this exotic iron-walled prawn. Although it took a long time, he had to admit that they were already very powerful. No wonder they could enter the top 100 of the academy. But could Han Fei let the iron-walled prawn die? That was impossible. If it died, how could he collect it? Swish, the three teenagers were about to kill this iron-walled prawn when a spiritual energy arrow suddenly appeared, startling them. Not good, there's an enemy. The three of them were talking to each other. At the moment when Han Fei shot the spiritual energy arrow, the three of them gathered together. Although they had consumed most of their spiritual energy, they didn't panic at this moment and seemed to be quite calm. Bang! Crack! The iron-walled prawn was shot on the carapace of the head by an arrow, and cracks appeared on the carapace. The three teenagers' faces changed drastically when they heard this cracking sound. They had been fighting this iron-walled prawn for so long but failed to kill it. But the person who came later cracked the carapace of its head with an arrow. This meant that the person who came was very strong. Han Fei leisurely appeared. Seeing a pincer trying to grab it, he immediately waved the water-stirring seal. He didn't even need to use his shadow. He smashed the pincer with his seal and sent it flying. Han Fei ran to the prawn's head and smashed it 4 or 5 times in a row until the head was full of cracks and the iron-walled prawn fainted. Han Fei looked at the three teenagers with a smile. Fortunately, the three of them had crippled the iron-walled prawn. Otherwise, it would have taken him a lot of effort to fight it alone. In his mind, the girl said to him via voice transmission, "Shameless! We killed this prawn." Han Fei thought to himself, "I don't care who killed it. Anyway, it's mine now." So he said to them via voice transmission, "Hand over your fiery mountain tokens and I'll let you go." However, there was no response from the other side. Han Fei walked over step by step. "We're all classmates. Don't make things difficult for me." The three of them frowned slightly. Classmates? From our school? However, just when Han Fei was about to ask for their fiery mountain tokens, the three of them suddenly broke out. The spear-wielding boy waved his spear and a big blue fish suddenly appeared, rushing straight at Han Fei's face. Smack! Bam! Han Fei raised his hand and slapped down, and the big fish and the spear were both slapped away. But what followed was 3 explosive arrows. The spiritual energy exploded in front of Han Fei's eyes through the arrows. Waves of rolling water were set off. Even though Han Fei had been prepared, he was still shaken back several steps. Cold light flashed in the waves and Han Fei suddenly took out his double knife. Clang, 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 clang in the blink of an eye, dozens of knives slashed at each other, and the boy was sent flying by Han Fei. At this moment, his hands had been frozen. When a fish hook brushed past Han Fei's cheek, the fish skin mask on Han Fei's face was torn open. "Huh, you're good at cooperating." Han Fei put on a smile and stared at the three of them. "Since you've seen my face, then, hand over your fiery mountain tokens before I'm ready to beat you up." The three of them were all black at this moment. Classmates? Isn't this Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There are only 5 people in their academy in total. How could they meet him? Seeing that the girl still wanted to take the bow, with a swish, a blue sea wandering dragon dagger cut through the seawater and fell directly in front of the girl's neck. "Girls should be reserved. Don't fight." The spear-wielding boy said, "Give him your fiery mountain tokens. We're almost out of spiritual energy now. We can't fight with Han Fei in his peak state." Swish, swish. 3 fiery mountain tokens were thrown out. Han Fei caught them with a smile and threw them into Forge the Universe. Plus his own fiery mountain tokens, he had already got 7. Han Fei nodded. "Not bad, not bad. I'm a generous man. I won't argue with you. Let's go." At this time, the three of them didn't say anything harsh. If Han Fei became angry and wanted to kill them, they would be in danger. So the three of them gritted their teeth and left quickly. Han Fei smiled and the demon purification pot flashed. Collect the demon. Collecting the iron-armed lobsters, Han Fei walked to the snow-silver bamboo, raised his knife and picked the snow-silver fruit. Then, Han Fei pulled out the snow-silver bamboo and was about to enter Forge the Universe. Suddenly, he looked up and saw some thick crystals hanging in the air on the twisted top of the cave. Han Fei blinked and his eyebrows jumped several times. Why does it look a little familiar? After a moment, Han Fei's face changed and he immediately took out a small box from Forge the Universe, the small box that he took from Master Turtle. Han Fei quickly opened the map inside. Back then, when they received the map, none of them knew where it was located. However, when he opened it, Han Fei immediately found a large crisscrossed stone pillar in the southeast corner of this fish skin map. F***CK. A treasure map of the Fiery Mountain? At this moment, Han Fei felt a sudden sense of happiness. It was like a pie falling from the sky. He actually had a treasure map of the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain. It was like the heavens were helping him. Inside Forge the Universe. I have a map. Who am I afraid of? Treasures, here I come. Chapter 255. All spiritual fruits contained spiritual energy. This snow-silver fruit didn't have much spiritual energy, only more than 30,000 points. So far, it wasn't enough for Han Fei to refine a spiritual weapon. Of course, it was enough to refine a magic weapon. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei swallowed the snow-silver fruit. It was cold in his mouth and tasted not as good as strawberries, only a hint of sweetness. However, then Han Fei felt that his bones were a little numb. He looked inside himself and found that there were spots of silver light in his bones. My bones can shine? After a while, when the effect of the snow-silver fruit disappeared, Han Fei found that the silver light gradually faded, but his bones became a little brighter, or a little bit more immortal, because they were emitting a hint of silver light. Han Fei got up and sensed it, only to find that his strength had increased by nearly half from the original base. Wow! Can a fruit have such a great effect? Han Fei was shocked. At his current level, with the indestructible body strengthened to this point, a small increase in strength meant an increase of hundreds of kilograms. Besides, Han Fei felt that his bones had become a lot stronger. This snow-silver fruit didn't just increase his strength. As for the spiritual energy, it might just be supplementary. Hey! Han Fei threw the rod into the demon purification pot to refine it, while looking at the map in his hand. Although there were no marks on the map, there were no less than 20 places with special features on the map. Among them, the mountain accounted for as many as 6 of them, and the place where he was actually not eye-catching, just a relatively small mark on the map. Han Fei secretly calculated the proportion. 200 kilometers southeast from here, there were 3 doorways. Needless to say, it must be one of the treasures. A few minutes later, a silver rod appeared. Because Han Fei didn't consider the shape and patterns of the rod just now, this silver rod looked very ordinary except for its extraordinary material. Named Snow Silver Rod. Introduction. Made of snow-silver bamboo, the rod is very heavy and extremely hard, but its shortcoming is that it is a little tough and not easy to bend. Quality. High-quality magic weapon, attached, non-recastable, unrefined. Note, due to the limited forging materials, it can be cast into a high-quality magic weapon at most. Han Fei picked up the rod and was overjoyed. This kind of rod weighing 1,000 kilograms was better. After dripping blood on it, Han Fei wouldn't feel it was heavy even if he carried it. The rod in Forge the Universe was heavier than the F***King Golden Hoop Rod, and Han Fei really couldn't carry it. After a while, Han Fei carried the snow-silver rod and happily set off to the 3 doorways in the southeast. The main task of the Fiery Mountain was not only to find opportunities but also to fight for the Fiery Mountain tokens. But he had to find someone to fight for the Fiery Mountain. So where was the easiest place to find? Where could he find someone? Without hesitation, Han Fei swam to the 3 gates at full speed. Along the way, he also found some bubble algae and took a few deep breaths. Han then Su Fish Sea. On the way, Han Fei met 2 people, but both of them were advanced great fishing masters. Han Fei chased it for a while, only to find that it was also very fast and almost impossible to catch up with it. He spiritual energy, and Han, and he silver dragonly, he dragon, he dragon, said Fei and said. Dragon, silver dragon T, flying. Different from the stone gap just now, the place of the 3 doors on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than a kilometer wide. Unlike the stone gap just now, the location of the 3 gates on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than 1,000 meters wide. Right in the middle of this small oceanic trench, there were 3 large holes visible to the naked eye. Anyone who passed by would probably be able to discover this place. There were traces of fighting at the entrance of the hole, and there were many big pits nearby. Han Fei hesitated for a moment and dived down. No matter what was in the hole, he would go in first. Little White, which hole do I go in? Little White floated for a while against Han Fei's cheek, and then swam directly into the hole in the middle. Wow! Is it so boring? The hole in the middle is the largest. It doesn't look like a good hole. Treasures are hidden in it? Han Fei carried the snow-silver rod, took out a fish skin mask, put it on his face, and began to explore. However, as soon as he entered, Han Fei felt something was wrong. The cave was abnormally cold, completely different from the water temperature of more than 20 degrees outside. It was extremely cold in this cave. If it was just cold, it wouldn't be a big deal. The point was that in addition to the coldness, there was a gloomy and terrifying sound, trembling and lingering. Woo, woo, woo. Haha, the corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Is there something scaring me? But before Han Fei swam a kilometer, he saw a hand floating in the sea. Han Fei. In an instant, Han Fei's heart tightened. A hand? Is someone dead? He had to be nervous. Those who could come to the secret realm of the fiery mountain couldn't be ordinary. For example, although the people he had met were weaker than him, it was not as if they had no redeeming qualities. At least, some people were not slower than him when it came to running. After a while, Han Fei saw a broken body. And on that body there was a black shadow, but he couldn't see what it was. The black shadow seemed to have heard the noise and jumped out with a swish, leaving only an afterimage in place. Han Fei went over to take a look. This boy had been dead for a long time. His chest had been drilled through, and the middle was a bloody mess. Han Fei's face darkened. That damn thing was eating the body just now. Although, theoretically, those who participated in the secret realm assessment of the fiery mountain were all enemies. But this didn't mean that the enemy should die like this. Han Fei immediately knocked on the rock wall with his rod and covered the body with some gravel. Of course, Han Fei also rummaged through this guy's fiery mountain token, but he didn't find it. It must have been taken away. Brother, make do with it. Remember, in your next life, don't do it if you don't have a diamond in your hand. Han Fei continued to swim forward. After swimming less than 500 meters, he suddenly leaned to the side and attacked with his rod. A black shadow leaped out from behind him with a swoosh. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes, but he didn't have time to see it. Han Fei didn't chase it. This thing was too fast. Little Black couldn't bite it even if he wanted to. Han Fei grabbed Little Black's tail. Don't worry. I'll come back. Han Fei continued to swim in. Blood appeared in the water occasionally. Han Fei guessed that someone should be injured. After a while, Han Fei stopped. He saw dozens of forks and a dozen caves leading in all directions, and in most of the caves there was a faint blood color spreading. Huh. Have many people been in this cave? Little White, where do I go? As a professional direction guide, Little White began to feel awkward facing more than a dozen caves. Sometimes he wanted to go left, sometimes he wanted to go right, which made Han Fei frown from time to time. Did Little White fail? In the end, Little White chose a cave on the side. Han Fei swam in without any hesitation. But not long after he entered, there was another cave. Damn, what the hell is this place? Why are there so many caves? After Little White chose, Han Fei continued. But this time, Han Fei's soul was shocked. When he was halfway through, the seawater completely turned blood red. As far as his eyes could see, there was blood everywhere. Damn! How many people are going to die? However, this was not the end. There was a squeaking sound in the seawater. Han Fei almost subconsciously activated a spiritual energy protective cover and had the nine-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him. Sure enough, in the next moment, a large number of black shadows emerged. They shuttled back and forth like black shadows. In terms of speed alone, they were much faster than Han Fei. Squeak! When Han Fei saw them clearly, he was shocked. They were all black rats. A string of data flashed in his eyes. Name: dark water rat. Introduction: living in undersea caves all year round, likes decaying things, is extremely fast, and has an amazing bite force. Its teeth are hard and can be used to make arrows. Level 27 quality, rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 596 points, edible effect, can enhance the user's vitality and blood. Collectible rat teeth, absorbable, swish, swish, swish. The 9-star chain was instantly opened, and the blue sea wandering dragon surrounded Han Fei like a grinding wheel. And Little Black had already rushed out. From time to time, Han Fei saw Little Black open his mouth and bite a dark water rat in half. However, at this moment, Han Fei was a little scared. This was not what he was worried about. It was just a group of water rats. Could they really kill him? Just now, at the moment when the dark water rats surged over, he saw a gloomy face not far away, ghastly and terrifying. 5. Chapter 256. Almost in the blink of an eye, the water around Han Fei became extremely turbid, and the flesh of dark water rats was everywhere. Han Fei found that although the dark water rats were fast and had a strong bite, their defense was not even as good as that of level 20 rare fish. Do you want to win with numbers? Han Fei didn't know how many water rats were hanging on him. However, so far, none of them could bite through his skin. It was just a little painful, that was true. Being with himself as the center, Han Fei suddenly burst out a spiritual energy explosion, and dozens of water rats were shattered in an instant. At this moment, Han Fei knew where the so-called blood water came from. There were a large number of water rats in almost every cave. Was it dangerous? Of course it was. If it were anyone else, even if they had strong means of attack, they would be bitten to death or at least half of their life. When thousands of water rats were minced, these annoying fellows hurriedly retreated. They seemed to find that Han Fei was not so easy to deal with. Han Fei braced himself and walked forward. In the blood red, Han Fei always felt that something was watching him. Immediately, Han Fei released his spiritual perception and scanned the space inch by inch. There must be something here, but he couldn't find it. After swimming for a while and passing through the blood water area, Han Fei found that this cave was long, with dark stone walls on both sides. Touching the stone wall, Han Fei swam carefully, and the snow-silver rod in his hand was replaced by a blue sea wandering dragon dagger. Suddenly, Han Fei suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed it directly into the wall beside him. A human face suddenly emerged from the stone wall, and at the moment when Han Fei stabbed it, the human face melted into the stone. F***ck, Han Fei felt that there were 10,000 iron-head fish galloping in his heart. It was so F***king exciting. That thing was not human at all. Besides, this thing could evade his spiritual perception. Fortunately, he had the demon purification pot in his hand. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to find this damn thing. Devilfish? Just now, a message flashed in his eyes. Mutant devilfish elusive, fond of darkness, weak attack power, but extremely good at substitution, can change faces and can create fear. 30 mysterious 1672 points inedible none. Han Fei swallowed. He was a little stunned when he first saw the message. This was the third time he had seen a mysterious creature. It was a fish that had no attack power, but it had a strange ability that could cause fear. At this moment, Han Fei wondered why he, who had always been so stubborn, ended up in this damn place. He was always on tenterhooks, so it was all because of this thing. F***ck, don't let me catch you, or I'll chop you to death. Han Fei wondered if there were any treasures in this place. How could there be treasures in such a gloomy and terrifying place? Give me a fish bone. Han Fei blinked as he saw someone running towards him. This kind of encounter was very strange. In a place with a radius of 1,000 miles, the two of them just had to meet in such a pitch-black cave. Wasn't this strange? Hey, brother, why are you running? Han Fei waved his hand and said hello. However, that person didn't respond. He held 2 axes in his hands and leaped over, chopping down violently. Dang dang dang, Han Fei's face slightly changed. Hey, who the F***ck are you? However, what responded to Han Fei was a heavy axe, on which there was a phantom of a big pincer. Rumble, the billowing waves immediately exploded. Han Fei frowned. This person was an advanced great fishing master, but he exerted strength beyond that of an advanced great fishing master. The axe just now made Han Fei feel as if he had taken Zhang Xuanyu's 7-layered rod in Furious Sea. Because the two were too close, Han Fei found that this person's eyes were red and he seemed to have lost his mind. Humph! 9-star chain. BEM. 9 chains were instantly nailed to the rock walls on both sides, directly binding the lost boy. But Han Fei didn't expect that this person was so crazy that he gathered all the spiritual energy in his body. This was no longer a spiritual energy explosion. Did this guy want to blow himself up? Han Fei poked this person's stomach with a rod and directly scattered the spiritual energy. Then, he smacked his back with the rod, knocking him to the ground. Han Fei withdrew the chain and saw a palm-sized starfish behind the boy's neck. Psychedelic starfish. Parasitic starfish liked to attach to fish and could easily control the parasite's mind, making it manic. 25 rare 545 points inedible none. Han Fei pinched this psychedelic starfish and found that this thing had been embedded in the boy's skin. Han Fei took out a knife and made a circle behind the boy's neck. The boy's skin was immediately covered with a layer of frost and his neck became stiff. Come down. Han Fei directly pulled this starfish down. However, this starfish didn't move at all, as if it was frozen. Under his feet, the boy's stiff neck seemed to have woken up. After waking up, the first thing he did was to take out a fish skin pouch from his waist and take a breath into the fish skin pouch. Then, he slowly recovered and sat on the ground, clutching his neck. Han Fei asked, "You're awake?" With a swish, the boy jumped up. Maybe he was too excited, or maybe he didn't react, but the consequence of being hit by Han Fei just now came. The boy was bleeding from all his orifices. "Who are you?" Han Fei waved the starfish in his hand and said, "You were parasitized by this thing. I saved you. How are you going to repay me?" The boy. He seemed to be recalling something. After a while, his face stiffened and there seemed to be a trace of horror in it. Han Fei said, "Don't be silent. If it weren't for me, you would have been dead. So, give me your fiery mountain token." The boy looked at the masked Han Fei and asked solemnly, "Who are you?" "I am me. I am a different kind of firework." The boy covered his neck. "Anyway, you saved me, so this life is yours. I'll give you my fiery mountain token." The boy took out a fiery mountain token and Han Fei said to him, "Just one?" The boy was stunned. "Isn't it just one for each person?" Han Fei was suspicious. "You don't have any companions dead? Don't pretend. I've already buried one ahead. That guy's fiery mountain token has long been taken away. The boy shook his head. I don't know. I did come with another girl, but she should not be dead. We encountered a ghost-face fish. I was bitten and she ran away. A girl. Han Fei frowned. Is there another group of people here? Han Fei put away the fiery mountain token and waved his hand. Go out. The dark water rats in the passage have been cleaned up by me. The boy cupped his fists and said, I'm Gu Tao from the Third Academy. Thank you for saving my life. Han Fei waved his hand without looking back. Gu Tao couldn't resist the various strange creatures here, but he was not afraid. Now that he had found the ghost face fish, he wouldn't take it out unless he killed it. Of course, in addition to this reason, there were at least 2 or even 3 fiery mountain tokens here. How could he let go of the fiery mountain token? Moving forward, the internal structure of the cave became more and more complicated. Before, there was still a path to follow. But now, there were caves everywhere. Han Fei really admired the guy just now. He didn't get lost in it. Xiaobai, can you feel someone nearby? Take me to it. Cell phone station. Chapter 257. Perhaps with Little White's help, it was easy for Han Fei to find the way. But this also led to other consequences. In just half an hour, Han Fei was attacked twice. This time, it was still the suicidal charge of the dark water rats, but these rats couldn't do anything to Han Fei. The other time, Han Fei was attacked by the devilfish. This guy popped up behind him and bit him, crushing his spiritual energy protective cover and biting off a piece of flesh. This was the difference between mysterious creatures and exotic creatures. Han Fei was confident that as long as this devilfish was an exotic species, it couldn't bite through him at this level. At this moment, Han Fei snorted and ran forward with the rod. Buzz buzz buzz, when palm-sized psychedelic starfish shot over like darts, Han Fei's face turned green. Damn, the devilfish, right? Don't let me catch you, or I won't take you in. I'll skin you alive. Han Fei was very sure that from beginning to end, all the trouble he encountered was caused by the devilfish. Is this guy a devil? Why can't it control these rare creatures? He thought quickly, but his hands didn't stop. 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers formed a circular shield in front of him, rotating in front of him. Watching the starfish being crushed one by one, Han Fei sneered. Is there no other way? You even used the psychedelic starfish? Han Fei seemed to think of something. He had been attacked one after another along the way. Was it because this devilfish didn't want him to move forward? The more he thought about it, the more curious Han Fei was. What secrets were there in the depths of the cave? His spiritual energy was constantly consumed, but Han Fei didn't care. Compared to spiritual energy, whether it was the dark water rat or the illusory starfish, they were not easily grown. They couldn't keep coming to die. When he figured this out, Han Fei moved faster. In the cave, the horrible and gloomy smell became stronger and stronger. In the end, there was a sob in the sea, as if a woman was crying. Stop playing trick. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon bow suddenly appeared in his hand, and he pulled the bow to a full moon. Swish, 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 several spiritual energy arrows bombarded the area in front of them. For a time, the cave was full of spiritual energy and rocks were flying. In the rubble, a human face grinned at Han Fei. Xiao! The human face stone was blown to pieces. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Why don't you show up again? But then, Han Fei didn't find the devilfish. It seemed to have disappeared into thin air. With Little White leading the way, Han Fei finally came to the depths of the cave. As soon as Han Fei came in, he saw a layer of white bones on the ground. And in the middle of the bones, there was a light green blade of grass swaying in the middle of the bones. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A blade of grass? Hidden mist grass? In his eyes. Misty grass, a bait spirit plant. Wherever the hidden fog grass was, it would attract sea creatures. Generally, it was used to cultivate special creatures to evolve and mutate. 34 Spirit Plant 12666 points. After consuming it, the user would be able to become invisible. Han Fei's face changed. Sure enough, as he expected. Back then, he had seen the introduction of this spirit herb in the Encyclopedia of Spirit Plants. This kind of grass was usually used by elites as bait to cultivate mutants. So, this mist-hidden grass was deliberately placed here by someone? A lot of questions popped up in Han Fei's mind. Looking at so many bones on the ground, there were not only fish bones but also human bones. So, this mist-hidden grass should have been here for many years. But the problem was, didn't it say that only people below dangling fishers could enter this secret realm? Besides, the bones all over the ground didn't seem to have been accumulated for decades. If someone did this on purpose, was that mysterious mutant devil fish the mutant cultivated by that guy? Han Fei shivered slightly. How difficult it was to deal with mysterious creatures. This mutant devilfish could be seen. It was the first time that he had been fooled by a fish. Han Fei immediately drew the bow, and the spiritual energy arrow turned into a stream of light, shooting straight at the mist-hidden grass. It was not that he didn't want to eat this mist-hidden grass, but since this thing was deliberately placed here, how could he let others take advantage of it? Sure enough, when the spiritual energy arrow was about to hit the mist-hidden grass, a turquoise circular energy shield suddenly appeared. Bam! The spiritual energy arrow, which was comparable to the full blow of an advanced great fishing master, was blocked, but the turquoise energy shield didn't shake at all. Woo! When Han Fei attacked the mist-hidden grass, the whimpering sound appeared again. This time, Han Fei didn't even look back but secretly instructed, "Little Black, look behind me. If this thing dares to come up, bite it to death." Not only Little Black, but the 9-star chain behind Han Fei was also swaying slightly, as if saying, "As long as it dared to appear, I would kill it." Han Fei continued to raise the bow, the corners of his mouth curling up. The War Soul bow technique had a total of 9 arrows. Just now, he was just testing it. Swish, swish, swish. When Han Fei shot the arrows, the whole cave was shaking. With Han Fei's attacks, the consumption of spiritual energy was higher and higher. The first time was only 200 points of spiritual energy, the second time was 400 points, the third time was 800 points. Han Fei gritted his teeth. When he shot the fourth arrow, the spiritual energy in his body was exhausted. Fortunately, he had enough spiritual energy. When the bowstring of the fifth arrow was pulled out, the veins on Han Fei's whole arm bulged. This arrow was almost beyond his ability. Around him, the sea was shaking. Above his head, rocks fell. However, Han Fei didn't care at all. This arrow burst out 3,200 points of spiritual energy. Han Fei believed that even a junior dangling fisher would be blown up in an instant. Because even if he was a dangling fisher, who dared to say that his upper limit of spiritual energy had exceeded 3,200? Just when Han Fei was about to shoot this arrow, he felt a chill behind him and goosebumps appeared on his back. At this moment, the corners of Han Fei's mouth suddenly curled up. He leaned forward and quickly turned around in midair. Swish! A dazzling white light burst out in an instant, illuminating the entire cave. Han Fei even saw many mist starfish, entrenched on the top rock wall, but he didn't care. "Hey!" I said, "if you dare to show up again, I will kill you." A large amount of gravel fell from above, but Han Fei didn't even look at it and directly slapped the gravel aside with the 9-star chain. And 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers instantly shot out. This time, a large part of the rock wall collapsed by Han Fei's arrow, and the mutant devilfish was embedded in the rock wall like a piece of meat skin. This time, it failed to melt into the rock and escape. Han Fei sneered. "Run. Continue to run. Your soul has been blown up by me. Let's see how you can run." In fact, Han Fei didn't want to shoot the mist-hidden grass at all, but he expected this damn thing to sneak attack him. Everything was just an act. However, after this arrow, Han Fei only felt that his arm was extremely sore and he couldn't exert any strength for a while. No, it seems that I have to use the 5th arrow less. At this moment, Little Black bit through the devilfish. However, Little Black was stunned. There was no F***king meat. Han Fei was speechless. Is it really just a piece of skin? Not even a bone? If it weren't for the data in his eyes, Han Fei would really think this thing was a fake fish or a piece of fish skin. At this moment, the devilfish had lost half of its skin and was dying. Han Fei stretched out his finger and flicked its fish skin. Should I kill you? Tsk. With that, Han Fei grabbed a blue sea wandering dragon dagger and cut the fish skin of the devilfish. Wherever the dagger passed, frost condensed. Finally, Han Fei saw panic in the fish skin-like eyes. However, Han Fei didn't panic at all. Mysterious creatures were so easy to kill? He didn't believe it. Han Fei cut a hole in the fish skin. It seems that you can't speak. That's right, so far I have only met 2 that can speak. It seems that not all mysterious creatures can speak. Han Fei stared at it for a long time, but unfortunately, there was no feedback in the end. Forget it, collect the monster. However, he didn't complete the collection this time. That damned fish was still resisting? Han Fei raised his dagger and cut dozens of times on the mutant devilfish, cutting the thin layer of fish skin into pieces. Han Fei said angrily, I've given you face, haven't I? Surrender or die. Cell phone site. Chapter 258. Just when this mutant devilfish was about to be cut into pieces by Han Fei, it finally accepted its fate. It was not that it didn't want to fight back, but if it continued to fight back, it would really die. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Just now, he wanted to give up this damn thing, thinking, if I can synthesize a creature similar to this mutant devilfish, it won't be cute at all. After cleaning up the mutant devilfish, Han Fei turned his eyes to the mist-hidden grass. Han Fei put away the blue sea wandering dragon bow and took out the water-stirring seal. After his 4 consecutive strikes, this shield had weakened a little. Han Fei suspected that the person who arranged this small formation was not very strong. At least, under the power of his 4th arrow, the shield was shaken and flickered several times. Clang, clang, clang. The shield was knocked violently with a force of 10,000 kilograms. Every time Han Fei knocked, the surrounding water rippled and surged. For a time, the seawater in the cave surged out. Gotcha! After Han Fei knocked dozens of times, the first crack appeared. But at this moment, Han Fei suddenly looked back, only to see 2 teenagers running over from the entrance of a cave. One of them was covered with blood, missing a lot of flesh and blood, and his face was disfigured. But the other person was intact. Han Fei even felt that this person was not weak, probably at the level of a peak-level great fishing master. Even after seeing him, that person still had a calm expression on his face. At this moment, the 2 first looked at Han Fei and the mist-hidden grass protected by the shield. Then, looking at the rock wall where Han Fei had just shot a huge hole, they frowned. Han Fei waved his hand. Hey! Hello! Before the 2 of them answered, a girl came out of the cave on the other side. The girl was carrying 2 daggers. When she saw Han Fei and the other 2, she couldn't help but be surprised. Han Fei grinned. It seemed that the situation was better than he expected. If he guessed right, these 2 teenagers had at least 3 Fiery Mountain tokens, and this girl had 1, so he was about to get 4 Fiery Mountain tokens. This was a treasure hunt. However, before Han Fei could figure out how to deceive these 3 people, the girl suddenly approached Han Fei. I don't know who you are, but the guy opposite me is Kong Yunfei from the First Academy, ranked 6th in the top 100 list of the 3 academies. You and I have to work together, or neither of us will be able to escape. Han Fei blinked. Okay. On the other side, Kong Yunfei frowned slightly. Give up that spiritual herb and hand over your Fiery Mountain tokens, and I'll let you go. Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, Humph, don't be arrogant. I, Gu Tao, am an expert ranked 80th on the top 100 list. Su Yunfei, if you insist on snatching it, don't blame me for taking you down with me. If Gu Tao were here, he would definitely despise Han Fei in the strongest way. I was impersonated just like that? If you want to impersonate me, you should at least do a better job. Since when did I become 80th? I'm ranked 96. Kong Yunfei sneered. Since when can a guy ranked 80th be so arrogant to a guy ranked 6th? Luckily, Sun Yunfei had never paid attention to students below the top 10. Otherwise, he would have seen through Han Fei. A question popped up in Han Fei's mind. You are not Gu Tao. Did you meet him? How is he? Han Fei paused. He forgot that Gu Tao said he had a companion. So it was this girl? Han Fei responded, let's meet them first. We are allies. On the other side, Sun Yunfei gestured with his eyes, and the boy next to him immediately rushed to another cave entrance, and at the same time, pressed the armor box in his hand to the ground, ready to fight at any time. Han Fei looked at the girl next to him. What's Kong Yunfei's profession? The girl was taken aback. Don't you know Kong Yunfei's profession? He's ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, the girl immediately responded, he's a soul warrior, very strong. His spiritual beast is a ghost eel, extremely fast, and his lightning slash is very strong. What about the other person? The girl shook her head. I don't know him. He's not in the top 100. Han Fei asked, what about you? The girl said via voice transmission, I'm ranked 100th on the top 100 list, Yuan Jia. Who are you? Is Gu Tao still alive? Han Fei replied, alive? I am a lonely traveler in the ocean. Don't ask me where I come from or where I go. I won't tell you. Yuan Jia. Yuan Jia wondered if she had met a fool. Don't be so naughty in front of a powerful enemy, okay? Han Fei asked seriously. Well, why didn't you run just now? Yuan Jia looked serious. If I could run out, I would have done so long ago. I know you are also in danger, but at least you need me now. I can pin down the injured one. After dealing with him, I will go to help you. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Boy, is she throwing this Kong Yunfei to me? I don't know where this girl gets her confidence from. She thinks she can beat the person ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, Han Fei was not afraid. He just responded with a smile. Okay. Su Yunfei frowned. Han Fei gave him a weird feeling. He always felt that this person seemed a little familiar. It shouldn't be. How could he be familiar with a person ranked 80th on the top 100 list? Han Fei said via voice transmission, hey, it's not easy for me to find this thing. I can't give it to you. I won't hand over the fiery mountain token. If you don't want to die, leave quickly. Kong Yunfei smiled. You want to scare me away? I know all the top 10 on the top 100 list, okay? Since you are not in the top 10, what am I afraid of? Yet, he still wanted to fight to the death with him? Kong Yunfei said via voice transmission, thank you for the noise you made here. Otherwise, I might not have been able to find you. So, I will spare your life. With that, a spear suddenly appeared in Kong Yunfei's hand. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A spiritual weapon spear. This was the first student Han Fei had seen using a spiritual level weapon. Just this alone proved that Kong Yunfei was definitely not weak. But Han Fei didn't care. A spiritual weapon without a sealed creature was not much stronger than a magic weapon. He immediately rushed up with the snow-silver rod. Bam! It was just a tentative blow, but 3 layers of ripples broke out and the water shook. Under the huge shock wave, Yuan Jia and the boy brought by Kong Yunfei almost couldn't stabilize their bodies. Kong Yunfei's face changed slightly. You can't be 80th on the top 100 list. Han Fei suddenly accelerated. Hundreds of spiritual energy vortexes suddenly appeared on his body, and the snow-silver rod in his hand struck crazily. Even in the water, Han Fei waved the rod, leaving countless afterimages. Kong Yunfei was horrified. Fast, too fast. Han Fei struck out hundreds of rod shadows, and those were not virtual shadows, but just an illusion caused by Han Fei's speed. Kong Yunfei subconsciously raised his spear to block. But after a series of bombardments, Kong Yunfei found that every time he blocked, the spiritual energy in his body would be consumed a little. In just a few seconds, he had lost as much as 10% of his spiritual energy. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, when a flash of lightning flashed, Han Fei hurriedly retreated. But no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the electric current? The thick electric arc rushed straight into Han Fei's body, and its power was comparable to the high-voltage current of dozens of piercing electricity jellyfish. At the moment when Han Fei was trembling, Kong Yunfei stepped on the air, rotated his body horizontally, and stabbed the spear in his hand. Just when Kong Yunfei thought he would hit Han Fei's body twisted in a strange arc in the water. His slightly chubby body was even softer than a girl's. Bam! At the moment when the two passed each other, Han Fei directly hit Kong Yunfei with his rod. But it was not over yet. The 9-star chain burst out in an instant, directly buckling Kong Yunfei's hands, feet, head, and waist. Then Han Fei flipped the big seal in his hand and slapped it down. Bam! Kong Yunfei flew out like a cannonball in an instant and hit the rock wall hard, making the rock wall full of cracks. On the side, Yuan Jia and the other boy were dumbfounded. What's going on? We haven't fought yet, and it's over on your side? The 6th-ranked soul warrior on the top 100 list didn't even last for 3 breaths before he was killed? Boom! Kong Yunfei on the rock wall suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, his eyes red, and broke free from the rock wall with a bang, and a huge eel phantom emerged. At the same time, a single-horned shark appeared in the water. Kong Yunfei shouted, "I'm going to kill you!" Han Fei was stunned. A shark? In addition to Zhang Xuanyu's bloodthirsty shark, he saw a second shark, the one with horns on its head. The single-horned shark instantly turned into a water blade. In an instant, a huge blade tens of meters long slashed straight at Han Fei. Water-stirring seal technique. Han Fei said seriously. The water-stirring seal was no longer a brick. The big seal phantom of tens of meters floated in the air and hit the blade with a brick. Clang! The ear-piercing roar shook Yuan Jia and the other person, causing them to vomit a mouthful of blood. In the next moment, a big shark was slapped away on the rock wall. Han Fei also flew out upside down and hit the rock wall. Han Fei shook his head, broke free from the rock wall, and even scratched his head. Kong Yunfei was dumbfounded. Damn it! He's fine? The other two were shocked at the same time. Han Fei. Chapter 259. Han Fei twisted his body and adjusted his muscles and bones. The 6th on the top 100 list was indeed quite powerful. Just now, the power of the shark actually knocked away the water-stirring seal. At this moment, the fish skin on Han Fei's face was shattered, and the 3 of them saw Han Fei's face. Kong Yunfei didn't know Han Fei at all, nor had he been to the Blue Sea Arena to watch a game, so he was not surprised. But Yuan Jia and the other person subconsciously took 2 steps back. It was this guy. Immediately, Kong Yunfei seemed to have received some news. Kong Yunfei asked, "Han Fei, the 4th Academy?" Han Fei smiled, and with a flash of golden light, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, waving its 9 chains in the sea. Han Fei pointed at the other 2, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp waved its chain in the air, meaning, "If you dare to run, I won't be polite anymore." Yuan Jia and the unknown young man's faces turned green. "Are you kidding me? You want to tie me up for a contractual spiritual beast?" The 2 of them reached an agreement almost instantly and attacked at the same time. An iron hook squid and a machete crab instantly attached to their bodies. However, the 9-star chain was like a sharp arrow, arriving in an instant. The saber in the young man's hand was smashed into pieces, and the 3 chains coiled around him like 3 poisonous snakes. Yuan Jia didn't have it easy either. Although the iron hook squid was good at entangling attacks, when faced with 5 or 6 chains, she could only barely dodge them no matter how hard she tried. There was no way she could fight back. Yuan Jia was shocked. It's at least an exotic creature. The kind that isn't too strong. Han Fei ignored the two of them. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was enough to deal with them. He looked at Kong Yunfei and said, "Exposed. At this point, hand over your fiery mountain token. Or, if you have any other tricks up your sleeves, you can try them too." Kong Yunfei frowned. Just because he didn't know Han Fei didn't mean he hadn't heard of him. In fact, ever since Han Fei defeated Su Yebai, he had become famous. Many students on the top 100 list said that they couldn't beat Han Fei because Su Yebai was a manipulator. If they sent a soul warrior, they would definitely be able to win. But now that was not the case. Han Fei's face seemed to arouse Kong Yunfei's ferocity. Kong Yunfei turned into a shadow and rushed towards Han Fei. The next moment, the two of them started fighting. The cave was filled with flashes of light and shadows. The two of them were extremely fast, throwing out all kinds of combat skills as if they were free. After a full 5 minutes, Han Fei knocked Kong Yunfei down with a rod and a blue sea wandering dragon dagger shot through his palm. There were dozens of scratches on his body, and his clothes were torn to shreds. His body was drenched in blood. Not bad, but not strong enough. How did you rank 6th? Kong Yunfei almost vomited blood. Am I not strong enough? I've hit you dozens of times, okay? However, what made Kong Yunfei despair was what kind of body was this? He couldn't move it at all. Han Fei looked at Kong Yunfei lying on the ground with a smile. This guy is almost as good as Zhang Xuanyu. No, he had to tell Zhang Xuanyu that he was about to be caught. Han Fei stretched out his hand. "Give me your fiery mountain token, or I'll kill you." Kong Yunfei's mouth was bleeding and his expression was ugly. "You're not going to kill me? It's up to you whether to kill them or not. This is just a trial, and you're already a seated figure in the Blue Sea town. In the future, there are so many small fries in the 36 towns, and someone has to deal with them." Han Fei thought to himself, "Kill you? Am I stupid? If I want to kill you, I have to kill the other two. Even if I kill them all, Gu Tao will still run out. Won't I be exposed? Besides, when Kong Yunfei goes out to grab a few more fiery mountain tokens, he may be able to rob him again. How nice. It's so nice." Kong Yunfei took out 2 fiery mountain tokens and threw them to Han Fei. "I will catch up with you." Han Fei was surprised. "You gave me 2? Kong Yunfei snorted. "Winner takes all. I don't want to keep one. Otherwise, it will seem like I can't afford to lose." Han Fei finally glanced at Kong Yunfei. Although he was arrogant at the beginning, after losing, he became normal. To put it bluntly, he was asking for a beating. Han Fei didn't want to kill Kong Yunfei, but looked at the other two. "Give it to me." Yuan Jia and the other boy were almost crying. They admitted that they couldn't beat Han Fei. After all, he was from the 4th Academy. They couldn't afford to offend an academy with only a single-digit enrollment. But they couldn't even beat a contractual spiritual beast. This was very annoying. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp put away the 9-star chain. It didn't even need to swim up and smash the opponent. It could kill the opponent with its tail. Then the 9-tailed mantis shrimp climbed to Han Fei's side and hugged his leg. Han Fei's face changed drastically and he immediately took back the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, in case this idiot did something disgusting. Yuan Jia and the boy both threw out their fiery mountain tokens helplessly. At the same time, the two of them also deeply recognized their level. It was enough for them to keep their qualification for the top 100. Compared with people like Han Fei or Kong Feiyun, they had no chance at all. Han Fei got 4 fiery mountain tokens at once. Plus the ones he got before, he had a total of 12. Han Fei thought, this is too easy. In just half a day, he got 12. There are only 305 people participating in the trial in total. It should be no problem for him to get 50 fiery mountain tokens in 7 days, right? Since the fiery mountain tokens were given, they were no longer enemies. At this moment, Kong Yunfei swallowed healing pills and sat cross-legged to heal his wounds. Han Fei ignored Yuan Jia and the boy, but holding the water-stirring seal, came to the mist-hidden grass and began to knock on it, making their scalps go numb. Clang, clang, clang. After knocking for a full 5 minutes, the small shield was smashed open by Han Fei. Han Fei picked up the mist-hidden grass and threw it into Forge the Universe, thinking, "This thing can make me invisible after eating it. It's a waste not to eat it, but I don't know how effective it is." Han Fei had asked Xia Shaochan if she could learn stealth, but she said it was an exclusive stealth combat skill for hunters. There were many kinds of stealth combat skills, and although they were similar, there were also powerful ones among them. The most powerful one was that even his peers couldn't find him when he was invisible. Of course, if he perceived with spiritual power, he could still find traces. Han Fei didn't care. It was good enough that he could be invisible. At least when he went into the sea, he didn't have to worry about the harassment of some small fish and shrimp. Didn't Luo Xiaobai just find an invisible jellyfish as a contractual spiritual beast? Kong Yunfei was speechless. "I'm King healing myself. How am I supposed to heal myself when you're smashing me?" Kong Yunfei got up with a slightly pale face. "Shall we go out?" Han Fei asked. "Do we know each other very well? If you want to go out with me, you can each owe me a fiery mountain token." Yuan Jia asked, "What? A fiery mountain token to go out?" Han Fei blinked and said, "Why don't you try to go out and have a look yourself? Anyway, this place is full of caves. Although you can definitely go out, I don't know if you can have a place to breathe. Anyway, I don't mind you staying here for a while. You'll have fewer competitors." Kong Yunfei didn't even blink. Okay. He didn't want to waste time. He had tried to go out before, but unfortunately, he couldn't find the way after a long time. Since Han Fei could go out, he didn't mind owing him a fiery mountain token. After going out, he could just rob someone. He couldn't beat Han Fei, but few of the more than 300 people outside were his match. Yuan Jia said, "I'll try my best." "If I can't get it," Han Fei said, "then forget it. But you have to give it to me if you get it. This is a matter of integrity." Yuan Jia was speechless. "Integrity? You're taking advantage of me." Han Fei counted with his fingers. It seemed that he had 15 fiery mountain tokens now. Not a loss, but a small profit. With a flash between Han Fei's eyebrows, Little White intimately stuck to Han Fei's cheek. Han Fei said, "Let's go out." Along the way, everyone looked at Han Fei strangely. Who said that the spirit-swallowing fish was useless? This thing's IQ was too high, wasn't it? Han Fei was relying on it to lead the way. After a while, the 4 of them went out of the cave and Han Fei reminded them, "Don't forget, each of you owes me a fiery mountain token. If you don't give it to me, next time I meet you, don't blame me for being ruthless." Kong Yunfei snorted, turned his head, and left. The other 2 hurried to find the bubble algae and didn't respond. But Han Fei didn't panic. If these people really went back on their words, he would kill them. After they left, Han Fei took out the map, thought for a while, and decided to swim to that mountain. On the map, there were so many treasure marks on the mountain, which must be of great benefit. Mobile phone station. Chapter 260. Han Fei didn't stop for a moment except to take 2 breaths of air along the way. The closer he got to the mountain, the more he found the problem. It was too big and too high. The huge shadow was probably tens of thousands of meters high. It was because of this height that Han Fei was horrified. If a mountain that was tens of thousands of meters high didn't emerge from the water, then where were they? Underwater? Are you kidding me? Han Fei didn't think he could withstand the huge pressure of tens of thousands of meters deep. With this consideration, Han Fei immediately took out the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow, gathered a spiritual energy arrow, and shot it straight up. As a result, the spiritual energy arrow exploded less than 500 meters away, and a visible spiritual energy ripple spread in all directions. This scene made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. There's a seal. This is not an ordinary seal. It covers 1,000 kilometers. Who on earth has the ability to seal such a large area? Han Fei couldn't help thinking of the layout of the floating islands, villages, level 1 fisheries, and level 2 fisheries, which were beyond his imagination. If all this was deliberately done by someone, this person must be very powerful. Han Fei shook his head. This was not something he should think about. He had to go to the mountain as soon as possible. If he guessed right, the target of the more than 300 students at this moment was this mountain, because it was too conspicuous. About half an hour later, Han Fei avoided many kinds of fish and shrimps, including the piercing electricity jellyfish, blue hat jellyfish, soul-attracting jellyfish in the piercing electricity zone, plate rays, spider crabs, and even sandworms in the deep-sea jungle. The closer he got to the mountain, the more careful Han Fei was. The undersea creatures he encountered were stronger and stronger. They could even be said to be sea monsters. Any one of them would be a boss-level creature in the ordinary area of the level 2 fishery. Han Fei was like a small fish, swaying in the water. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that 3 invisible figures were floating to him. Chilla, the seawater exploded in an instant, and 3 cold lights flickered like streams of light, reaching him in the blink of an eye. Spiral strike! Han Fei frowned, rotated his body with the long rod, and chose one of the cold lights. At the same time, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers flashed out of his body and attacked the other 2. Bam! Under the huge shock wave, a mouthful of blood mist spurted in the water, and the next moment, the figure retreated quickly, trying to escape. Hey! You want to go? Don't you think it's too late? Attach. The 9-star chain shot out, but then Han Fei gave up on the opponent, because another cold light pierced at him from below. Spinning blade. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers drew curved arcs in the seawater, like a blooming umbrella, blocking the cold light in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Han Fei held the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand. Whoosh, a white mark was left on the seawater, and a figure was nailed out by Han Fei. Without the stealth state, the hunter was just a piece of cake to Han Fei. Han Fei swooped down, replaced the blue sea wandering dragon bow with the snow-silver rod, and launched a staff technique from the sky. The young man below was very anxious. He took out a fish skin pouch from his waist. The fish sack exploded, and a large amount of black ink dyed the water black. As if they had made an agreement, the 3 hunters attacked at the same time. Han Fei could feel the power of this blow. Although they weren't Xia Xiaochan never risked her life to fight him, but these people weren't. They were risking their lives. In the darkness, Han Fei grinned. I'm afraid you don't know what spiritual perception is. Han Fei's body was more flexible than a fish, and he pierced a hunter with his rod. At the same time, the 9-star chain swept out. The 9-star chain of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was very powerful, and few people could easily resist it. In the blink of an eye, 3 figures fell out of the black ink. Han Fei floated in the water with the rod and said, "Fiery mountain tokens." However, one of them said with a pale face, "Let us go. There's dead leaf poison in the ink pouch. Let us go and we'll give you the antidote." Han Fei frowned. It was okay for hunters to use poison, but using poison in this trial showed that they didn't intend to let the hunted live. Han Fei instantly threw out the rod in his hand, which penetrated the young man's chest in the blink of an eye. The snow-silver rod stuck straight into the mud at the bottom of the sea, raising tens of meters of mud. "Are you threatening me? I wanted to let you go, but you threatened me." Han Fei didn't even look at the man but looked back at the other man and woman with a smile. Antidote, fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei knew what dead leaf poison was. It was recorded in the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants that dead leaf poison came from the dead leaf starfish. This kind of starfish was shaped like dead leaves and was highly poisonous. Dead leaf grass would only be produced in their gathering places. It should be something that only existed in the level 3 fishery. If it was just the poison of the level 2 fishery, Han Fei wouldn't care at all. He had swallowed the exotic poisonous fruit and the moon-watching fruit, so the poison of the level 2 fishery was basically ineffective to him. But this was the poison of the level 3 fishery. He didn't dare to be careless. It was better to know the antidote first. The other 2 hunters' faces changed drastically. Han Fei was too strong. The 3 of them besieged him unexpectedly but failed to kill him. Instead, he killed one of them. This was terrible. At this moment, the 2 of them were very regretful. After recognizing Han Fei, they were too careless. They thought that the 3 of them were all advanced great fishing masters. When they fought together, they were equivalent to 3 peak-level great fishing masters, but they failed to kill Han Fei. How can we believe you? The other boy looked at his comrade who had been killed by Han Fei. At this moment, a chain was rummaging through his body, and soon 2 fiery mountain tokens were brought back. Han Fei threw them into Forge the Universe without even looking at them, and looked at the 2 with a smile. Awesome! It seems that you have more than 1 fiery mountain token on you. I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it, or you'll die. The girl said, we can give you the antidote and the fiery mountain tokens, but you have to promise Sea God that you won't kill us. Han Fei asked, Sea God? What the hell is that? You have no choice but to believe me. The 2's faces changed drastically. This was so disrespectful. How could he be so rude to Sea God? Was Han Fei crazy? The girl still wanted to say something but was stopped by the boy. The boy shook his head and threw a small bottle to Han Fei. However, Han Fei didn't take it at all. He pointed his finger and a wave of water pushed the bottle to the boy. Take a sip first. The boy's face changed slightly. At the moment his face changed, Han Fei's face suddenly turned cold. The blue sea wandering dragon bow appeared in his hand and he shot an arrow. At the same time, dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers followed closely. Puff, 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 the boy resisted angrily, but the exposed hunter had no power to fight back against Han Fei. In the end, a chain pierced the boy's chest. Han Fei's face was gloomy. You want to fool me with such a little trick? Did you hit your head with an ironhead fish? Han Fei rummaged and frowned. Why is there only 1 fiery mountain token? The girl was pale with fright and quickly responded, we agreed that we would each grab 1 and go to the mountain, but he still needed 1, so… Here you go. The girl was frightened and threw the 2 fiery mountain tokens to Han Fei. Otherwise, Han Fei could also get them if he killed her. Han Fei took the fiery mountain tokens. Good girl. Antidote. The girl hurriedly took out the antidote, took a sip, and then threw it to Han Fei, saying in fear, Don't kill me. Han Fei shook his head slightly. She was scared out of her wits. He really didn't know how she became an advanced great fishing master. Even He Xiaoyu was not as good as her. Han Fei drank the antidote and felt the blockage in his body just now disappeared. He waved his hand and said, I'll let you go, but you owe me a fiery mountain token. If you meet me next time, remember to give it to me. Otherwise, hey, just stay with them. As soon as Han Fei finished speaking, the girl slipped away with a swish, not daring to stay for a moment. Han Fei picked up the daggers of the 2 dead people. Both of them were low-quality magic weapons. He curled his lips slightly and threw them into Forge the Universe. Maybe he could use them one day. Maybe he could sell them for some money. Mobile Phone Station. Chapter 261. As soon as Han Fei pulled out the snow-silver rod, he saw a sudden burst of strong light on the huge mountain. Something seemed to have been triggered. So fast. Han Fei's face changed slightly. He had been here for less than a day and there was movement on the mountain. This meant that someone had arrived. Oh, that's my chance. Han Fei swooshed off the ground and swam towards the mountain. It was different from ordinary fisheries. If you could get the opportunity in ordinary fisheries, you could get it, and if you couldn't, you could just give it up. It all depended on your luck. But this was a trial. These fortuitous opportunities had to be snatched. Not only Han Fei, but at the moment when the strong light burst on the mountain, at least hundreds of people in all directions also moved. After more than half a day of exploration, almost everyone found that the entire water area appeared around the mountain. Now that the mountain was rioting, how could these people not be anxious? Originally, there were about 300 people scattered in the water area with a radius of 1,000 kilometers. But at this moment, the range had almost shrunk to within 200 kilometers, and almost no one was here. Han Fei avoided a lot of fish, and got closer and closer to the mountain, only to see a large number of silver spots flickering like a curtain of the Milky Way. As Han Fei approached, the silver gauze seemed to move closer to Han Fei consciously. When the two sides were only a few hundred meters apart, Han Fei bared his teeth. Damn, this is too much. Why is this silver curtain a large number of exotic fish? What are they doing here? In his eyes, a new species of fish appeared. Its whole body was almost transparent, but it was shining with silver light. It was only the size of a palm but had pure white eyes. It didn't look like a good fish at all. Explosive silver fish, spiritual energy silver fish, containing a lot of spiritual energy in their bodies, often appeared near spiritual energy silver mines. Because they absorbed a lot of spiritual energy, the spiritual energy in their bodies was extremely unstable and they had to reproduce to reduce the energy in their bodies. Spiritual energy. Once they encountered an enemy, they would often self-destruct. 24 rare 561 points quickly replenishing spiritual energy. None a large number of silver fish seemed to rush towards Han Fei consciously, just like the phantom fish he encountered before. The reason why the phantom fish chased him was that he killed their companions. But why were these silver fish chasing him? Han Fei turned around and ran. At the same time, the mist-hidden grass appeared in his hand, and he stuffed it into his mouth and swallowed it. Han Fei didn't use it before because he wanted to go back and see if he could refine pills. Now, it seemed that there was no longer a need for that. Faced with the overwhelming number of explosive silver fish, Han Fei was almost certain that this was similar to the piercing electricity zone. The difference was that the piercing electricity jellyfish could only discharge electricity, but they could not self-destruct. However, this thing would self-destruct at the slightest provocation. If one were to force their way through, they would probably be half crippled by the explosion. A level 24 fish was equivalent to an intermediate great fishing master. Once it self-destructed, who knew how powerful it would be? As soon as the nine-tailed mantis shrimp lashed out with its chain, it immediately exploded. Jia did it dozens of times. What kind of explosive silver fish was this? Every time, Jia. Unexpectedly, a spherical water ball appeared in the water. Damn it, is it so hard to get close to that mountain? When he ran dozens of kilometers away, he found that the explosive silver fish stopped chasing him. Instantly, he relaxed a lot and sat down in the water. I've finally escaped from the devil's clutches. Not long after Han Fei relaxed, he sensed ripples in the water. In the distance, he could vaguely see a bright spot exploding. Is there anyone else who wants to pass through the school of explosive silverfish? It was only a matter of time before he finished refining the fog-hidden grass. But before that, the fiery mountain token was also extremely important to him. If I can't find the treasure, can't I grab the fiery mountain tokens? Su Tsong from the Second Academy was confident that he could break through the explosive silver fish with his strong defense ability as an armorist. But as soon as he rushed in, he was stunned. The four shields around him could no longer withstand the crazy self-destruction of the silver fish. He felt it for himself. Every silver fish was bathing. In fact, it was equivalent to the full-strength blow of a junior great fishing master. He didn't even last for 5 breaths of time. The four shields weren't broken, but the huge explosion was still going strong. Ja's shockwave caused the blood in his body to surge, and he bled from his 7 orifices. Su Tsong did not dare to charge forward when he saw the dense school of silverfish. He quickly retreated. By the time he rushed out, 2 of the 4 shields had been blown up. He was dripping with blood, and his back was almost covered in silver fish scales. Su Tsong vomited a mouthful of blood. With a burst of spiritual energy, the scales on his back were shaken out of his body. But then, he was bleeding. He quickly swallowed a qi and blood healing pill. Before he sat cross-legged to treat his wounds, he suddenly raised his shield to block. Dum, 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 9 chains broke through the air, and the deafening noise was several times more terrifying than the explosion of the silver fish. Su Tsong took out his swords and knives from his armor box. But at this moment, more than a dozen cold long knives had fallen in front of him. Han Fei suddenly appeared and grinned. Fiery Mountain Token. When Su Tsong saw Han Fei, he almost vomited a mouthful of blood. How shameless! Han Fei was trying to fish in troubled waters. Su Tsong frowned. Han Fei, there's no grudge between us. 2 fiery mountain tokens. Su Tsong widened his eyes and said telepathically, "How can I have 2 fiery mountain tokens? I didn't run into anyone on the way." Han Fei said, "I don't care. It's perfectly justified for me to rob you. That one of yours is mine now. Do you think I'll let you go for free? So, you owe me a fiery mountain token." Su Tsong almost fought with Han Fei. However, he realized that he had just consumed a lot of spiritual energy. If he fought with Han Fei now, he would definitely lose. Having no choice, Su Tsong gritted his teeth and handed over the fiery mountain token. "I'll get the other one." Han Fei grabbed the fiery mountain token. "Don't even think about reneging on your debt. You're not the only one who owes me a fiery mountain token. I remember it clearly in my notebook. I'll go to them one by one later." Su Tsong said gloomily, "I won't renege on my debt as long as I can get it." Then, Su Tsong ran away. How did he run into Han Fei? Before he entered the secret realm, he discussed with his classmates that they would kill Han Fei if they ran into him. Little did he know that all his friends were gone after he entered the secret realm. In the same way, Han Fei circled the silver fish and looted 8 fiery mountain tokens. Of course, there were 7 more people who owed him debt. At this moment, the mist-hidden grass in Han Fei's body had been refined and began to work. Han Fei was trying to turn invisible, but he found that the mist-hidden grass was not as effective as he thought. It seemed to be invisible, but on a closer look, it seemed to retain the outline of a human body. He might not be able to distinguish fish and shrimps, but it was useless to humans. "Garbage spiritual grass," Han Fei complained. Sure enough, the mist-hidden grass could only be used as bait. Its stealth ability was too weak. Han Fei was complaining when he saw 5 people swimming close together. Han Fei was in a half-stealth state. Although it was not very advanced, it could still be considered stealth. These people were too far away to see him. Han Fei immediately hid in the crevice at the bottom of the sea. This is tricky. Why are these 5 people together when everyone else is alone? When the 5 people approached, Han Fei's eyelids cramped. He saw an acquaintance, Su Yebai. Unfortunately, he didn't know any of the other 4. If it were someone else, they would have exclaimed, "5 of the top 10 experts of the 3 academies are here." Suddenly, one of the 5 looked down. Han Fei held his breath and thought, "Have I been discovered?" Su Yebai asked, "What's wrong?" A cold-looking boy frowned. "Someone seems to be watching us." A guy who looked as handsome as Zhang Xuanyu had the whites of his eyes. Han Fei could tell at a glance that he was indeed suspected. He turned out to be a spirit gatherer who was observing the spiritual waves around. Han Fei immediately calmed himself down. Thankfully, he had practiced the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, which could seal his spiritual energy. Otherwise, he might have been discovered. Han Fei secretly calmed himself down. These 5 people were very strong. Including Su Yebai, they were all peak-level great fishing masters. Also, Han Fei suspected that they were a perfect team. He knew that Su Yebai was a manipulator, and the leading boy was carrying an armor box, and the handsome spirit gatherer. Then, did it mean that the other 2 were a soul warrior and a hunter? After a long time, the spirit gatherer shook his head casually. Forget it. Maybe they're hiding. Let's go over first. Cell phone website. Chapter 262. Han Fei was rather panicked. Those 5 people were truly strong. If any of them were hunters, it would be easy for them to find him. But after a few seconds they left, as if they didn't care about him at all. Han Fei pondered. 5 peak-level great fishing masters. If they were a perfect team, could he handle them? Although Han Fei was confident, he knew that he had to act within his capabilities. If it were Xia Xiaochan, the girls, and a spirit gatherer, he could only kill 3 of them at most. But of course, Han Fei didn't think that those 5 people were as strong as the 5 of them. So, he followed them quietly. Since you don't care, I'll wait until you feel the power of the silver fish's self-destruction. But a moment later, Han Fei's eyes widened. The armorist took action first, which was different from Lu Renquang's armor box, which was full of knives, swords, and sticks. As soon as his armor box was opened, the tortoiseshells were assembled into a large ball like a puzzle, which enveloped all 5 of them. It was the first time that Han Fei had seen such a handsome armorist. It was unbelievable. Lu Renquang had never shown such a cool armorist technique before. But it wasn't over yet. Layers of glittering ice crystals appeared on the tortoiseshells. Immediately, a glittering ball of ice crystals appeared. However, it wasn't over yet. Hundreds of spider threads darted out of the ball and nailed to hundreds of rocks at the bottom of the sea. In the end, to Han Fei's astonishment, the ball disappeared into the school of silver fish in the blink of an eye like a shot from a slingshot. Bam! 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 Wherever the ball passed, all the silver fishes would self-destruct. However, Han Fei watched the ball pass all the way as if it didn't meet any obstacle. Damn! It's rather strong. Han Fei was solemn. Not surprisingly, this was the strongest team that Han Fei had ever met, including the one in the 100th game in the Blue Sea Arena. If the armorist at that time had been replaced by the armorist just now, the outcome of the battle might have been different. Han Fei frowned. He looked at the mountain before him and then at the school of silver fish. Even though he was confident in his powerful physique, it wouldn't be easy for him to force his way through. He appeared and summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Before this fellow could get close to him, he kicked it in the head and said, "Dig a hole for me. Dig your way through." The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was speechless. "Every time you call me out, I'm either fighting or digging holes. Can't you call me out at other times?" The 9-tailed mantis shrimp quickly dug the soil with its 2 forelimbs. A few breaths later, a shrimp hole was drilled out. He had to admit that the mantis shrimp was really fast at digging holes. With a few thumps, he loosened the soil. After a while, Han Fei felt that he had passed half of the journey. "Hey, not bad. I'll reward you with a female mantis shrimp in the future." Hearing this, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp worked even harder. "Do you think it's easy for me? I haven't even seen a single prawn feather after such a long time. I hope you're not lying to me this time." Just as he was running forward, his eyelids suddenly twitched. He seemed to have dug something up when Han Fei perceived it. His face turned green. It was a huge nest of insects. To be exact, it was the nest of sandworms. Countless enormous sandworms were entangled in the nest. More importantly, the nest was too large for his perception range of 200 meters to detect anything. F***CK. Attach. Almost in the blink of an eye, the place where Han Fei was occupied by an enormous head. Bam! In the middle of the silver fish that looked like a silver light curtain, a figure broke out of the soil. Behind him, one enormous head after another popped out of the ground. The enormous sandworms that were dozens of meters tall seemed to be swimming in the silver fish. Bam! 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 Han Fei's face turned green. Who made such a huge nest of sandworms? It was 2F** King Scary. After only 1 second, Han Fei's head was dizzy from the explosion. Little gold fuse. In an instant, a pair of sharp wings grew out of Han Fei's back, and an enormous phantom appeared on his head. It looked like a bird's head but had giant gills and 9 chains on its tail. At this moment, if Han Fei were to fly in the sky, someone might mistake him for a phoenix. He had wings, a tail, and a bird's head. Hiu! At that moment, Han Fei's speed was multiple times higher than before. The Feather God Ray's characteristics were fully revealed. It was extremely fast. Because the speed was too fast, the original golden red wings directly turned into 2 golden blades. Wherever it passed, it would be jaw-folded. What Han Fei didn't know was that on the other side of the silver fish, 4 boys and 1 girl were standing on a rock and staring at the silver fish. Was someone really staring at us just now? The spirit gatherer nodded. Yes. I didn't see it, but I sensed different spiritual energy. The armorist said, he can't be weak if he can hide it from you. I think he has more than 1 fiery mountain token. Let's take him down first. The girl, on the other hand, took out 2 enormous hammers. She was petite and carried the hammers that were half the size of a person. The girl said, I hope he can take one of my hammers. While they were chatting, a streak of golden light dashed among the silver fish that looked like gravel in the Milky Way. Wherever it passed, it would be jaw-folded. The speed was extremely fast, but it still formed a line. However, it was even quieter than when they had passed through the school of silver fish. The girl's expression was solemn. So fast. Su Yebai frowned. The phantom of a spider appeared behind him, and shot out a large amount of spider silk. Dense spider web. Su Yebai made his move. Strands of spider silk intertwined and formed a large net in a few breaths' time. The young spirit gatherer raised his hands, and the seawater on both sides squeezed and condensed into a water wall. The armorist, on the other hand, gently placed the armor box at his feet. Bang! Han Fei was speechless and thought to himself, am I being stubborn? If I had known that I would have to force my way through, I would have come here much earlier. In the end, they still couldn't avoid being bombed along the way. At this moment, his head was a little swollen, and he was bleeding from his 7 orifices. The chi and blood in his body were in a riot, and he felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a complete tonic. The moment he dashed out of the school of silver fish, he saw a huge net blocking his way. F***ck in an instant, he took out the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. The tenacious spider web was pierced through as if it were made of paper. The 5 people behind him all changed their expressions, as Han Fei's reaction speed was really fast. But after the spider web, there was another water wall. Han Fei had no time to decelerate. He wanted to curse aloud, it's those 5 bastards who ambushed me here. I've been ambushing them all the time, but now I'm the one being ambushed? Since he couldn't decelerate, he wouldn't slow down. Little Gold was stubborn. How could he be scared of a water wall? Bam! At that moment, the water wall exploded like a bullet piercing through water, raising a mist. A sonic boom sounded when the water wall was hit by him. But at this moment, Han Fei saw the girl smashing at him with a hammer that was half the size of a person. Spiritual chi erupted from the hammer, bringing along layers upon layers of thick waves as it smashed down like a giant dragon. Water-stirring technique. Han Fei was not scared at all. He was not scared of anyone in terms of strength. When the illusion of the seal dozens of meters long appeared, Su Yebai quickly said telepathically, Zwa Zwa, watch out. It's Han Fei. However, Su Yebai's warning was too late. The hammer and the water-stirring technique collided, and a visible ripple burst out. Between the hammer and the seal, the huge impact blasted out 2 huge water ball shockwaves. Rumble, there was an explosion in the seawater. The girl vomited a mouthful of blood and was smashed into the ground like a cannonball. Han Fei was also flung back and smashed into the water wall by the hammer. He was shocked by the tremendous force. The young armorist's face turned cold. Is he Han Fei? Then, he patted his armor box and a dragon swam out. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Even Lu Renquang hadn't shown the swimming dragon in the box before. That B***starred must have been lazy. Why didn't he learn such a powerful combat technique? I'll beat him up when I find him later. Han Fei's whole body suddenly rose. The blue sea wandering dragon bow appeared in his hand, and he drew it to a full moon in the blink of an eye. Swish! Swish! The dragon illusion collided with the arrows of spiritual energy, and the first 2 arrows of the war soul art were broken. At this time, it was too late for Han Fei to shoot the 3rd arrow. Fortunately, the dragon had disappeared, revealing the true form of the weapon, a spear. The spear was entangled by the phantom of a dragon snake. Han Fei twisted his body and replaced the blue sea wandering dragon bow in his hand with the snow silver rod. Bm. The spear was smashed back by Han Fei, and Han Fei rose again with the counterforce. At this moment, the girl who was smashed into the ground by Han Fei jumped out and crossed her hammers. Let me. But Han Fei didn't pay attention to her, but one of the 5 had disappeared. The next moment, he saw a red dot flash by. Han Fei's 9 tails instantly blocked in front of him, and the 9 tails clanked. The hunter didn't expect Han Fei to react so quickly. He retreated after 1 strike and didn't attack again. Sure enough, there's a hunter. Han Fei smiled. I'll remember this. I'll pay you back later. In the eyes of the 5 people, Han Fei turned into a golden shadow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Cell phone website. Chapter 263. Han Fei ran wildly all the way. Although he knew that these people shouldn't be able to catch up with him, he'd better keep a distance from them. In the brief fight just now, Han Fei had a rough idea of the strength of these people. They were indeed very strong. Although the girl was knocked down by his seal just now. However, Su Yebai had taken a hit from him and was almost killed by him. However, the girl got up in the blink of an eye and jumped up and didn't seem to be injured at all. Oh, none of them seems to be weaker than Kong Yunfei. Han Fei seemed to have guessed something. He must have encountered the strongest team among the 3 academies. Because of this, Han Fei felt that it would be very interesting if they were to fight against him. Han Fei cancelled the attachment state and a fish skin map appeared in his hand. He turned and swam to the bottom of the mountain. After about an hour, Han Fei swam around half of the mountain before he found a treasure land sandwiched by 2 erect stones. But as soon as he landed, he saw 3 people rushing out of it. For a moment, both sides stopped and stared at each other. Han Fei said, "Hello. What a coincidence. You've just come out. Hand over the treasures." However, the response was, "It's Han Fei. He's also from the 4th Academy. Go." Han Fei. Han Fei was dumbfounded. This doesn't sound right. What do you mean I'm also from the 4th Academy? What's wrong with the 4th Academy? Han Fei said, "Hey, let's talk nicely. Don't fight as soon as you meet. That's not good, is it?" A girl said angrily, "Not good? The treasures we worked so hard to find were all stolen by Xia Shaochan. She stole them, you know? She stole." Han Fei was speechless. What Xia Shaochan did was really infuriating. If it were him, the treasures that he worked so hard to find were stolen in a blink of an eye, and when he opened his eyes, he found that the treasures were gone. Han Fei easily avoided the girl's attack and responded, "That's not right. Since it was stolen, how do you know it was Xia Shaochan who stole it? What if it was someone else? Don't frame the 4th Academy." A young man stretched out his hand, and a large amount of spirit-entangled grass swept over. At the same time, he said, "She stole it in front of us." The blue sea wandering dragon daggers swept past and cut the spirit-entangled grass into pieces. What the hell? Right in front of you, that stealing? That was clearly robbery. You deserve to be robbed. It shows that your skills are inferior. You still have the cheek to say that? Come on, hand over your Fiery Mountain tokens. Fiery Mountain token? Let's steal the Fiery Mountain tokens. Of the three, the only armorist who hadn't spoken seemed to be bursting with fury. He patted the armor box, and all the weapons seemed to be thrown out. There were as many as 100 of them, chasing after Han Fei. Han Fei was amused. It turned out that Xia Shaochan had stolen his Fiery Mountain token too. Since that's the case, I'll let these guys go. It was already pitiful enough. What's more, they're just a bunch of paupers. What's there to fight? Could it be that there was no time cost for him to fight with them? After fighting for a while, the three of them were so tired that they almost collapsed, and Han Fei left. Han Fei flipped through the fish skin map. The place just now was relatively large on the map, but it was robbed by Xia Shaochan. In this case, there was no need for him to go in. On the map, in addition to the dangerous place at the top, there were 2 or 3 treasure places to go. Another half an hour passed. Han Fei came to an underground cave. But this time, it was full of carcasses of horseshoe insects. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Horseshoe insect nest, this is a bit disgusting. Should I go? In the end, Han Fei didn't go but waited at the entrance of the cave. Xia Shaochan wouldn't wait for others to grab the treasure before robbing them. Would she rush in stupidly? However, after waiting for an hour, the people in the cave still hadn't come out. But to his surprise, 2 girls came. Because Han Fei was hiding on the side, in the semi-invisible state of the mist-hidden grass, the 2 of them didn't notice him. At this moment, the 2 girls stood in front of the cave entrance and seemed to be talking. Xiaohe, do you want to go down? These insects are so disgusting. Go. There are opportunities down there. But it's the insect nest down there. Well, why don't we wait outside? Anyway, the people inside will come out sooner or later. There are so many insect corpses outside. They must have been in there for a long time, right? Suddenly, one of the girls looked back. Han Fei was leaning against a stone. Hey, what a coincidence! Aren't you going down? The 2 girls were alarmed and one of them said, Han Fei? Han Fei laughed. Haha, why do I feel that you all know me? The 2 girls were speechless. Of course, there are only 5 people in the 4th Academy. Even if you didn't know each other before, who didn't know you when you snatched the door? The 2 girls seemed to have a discussion and suddenly ejected, ready to escape. They had long heard of Han Fei's strength. To be precise, the strength of everyone in the 4th Academy, including Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, had been studied countless times by others. Therefore, after weighing their own strength, the 2 girls chose to escape. However, before they escaped 10 meters away, dozens of chains suddenly broke out of the ground under their feet. In an instant, they entangled one of them and disrupted the other's escape route. Swish, swish, swish. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers shot out and Han Fei smashed at them with the snow-silver rod in his hand. How could he show mercy to women? It depended on the occasion. It was reasonable to say that people would die in the Fiery Mountain trial. He had been gentle enough. So far, he had only killed 2 of them. Water escape. However, before Han Fei reached them, he saw that the girl who was entangled somehow broke free from the chains and even disappeared. Huh? Gone? With his spiritual perception, Han Fei felt that a mass of water was running and had already run 200 meters away. Han Fei. The remaining girl wouldn't turn into water. At this moment, when Han Fei smashed at her with the rod, she instantly turned invisible. Her flexible body bypassed the chains and 2 daggers were aimed at Han Fei's throat. The daggers were aimed at Han Fei's throat. Spiral strike. The snow-silver rod changed its direction and spun to stab at the girl. Bam! The girl was sent flying. You are not a hunter. How can you find me? Han Fei grinned. If no one can find me when I'm invisible, wouldn't hunters be invincible? The girl turned over and tried to escape, but the nine-tailed mantis shrimp had already drilled out of the soil. There was no way for her to escape. Han Fei asked, "You have more than one fiery mountain token, don't you? Hand them all over." The girl glanced at the cave next to her and was hesitating whether to run in or not. However, Han Fei made a gesture of invitation. "Give me your fiery mountain token and I can let you go. If you go down, will the people down there let you go? Maybe you will die down there." The girl's face changed several times. In the end, she gritted her teeth and threw 2 fiery mountain tokens over. Then she jumped and was about to leave. Han Fei didn't stop her. If he could win without a fight, why fight? With these 2, he already had 27 fiery mountain tokens. This number was quite a lot, almost 1/10 of the total. Han Fei estimated that this was only the first day, and no one should have more fiery mountain tokens than him. Just as he put away the fiery mountain tokens, the cave next to him suddenly fluctuated, and Han Fei swept over with his rod. Another hunter? However, this time Han Fei didn't get what he wanted. The water suddenly surged, and a figure disappeared out of thin air, followed by a dagger. The dagger was stabbed directly into his waist. "Asshole, you hit me? How dare you hit me?" "Han Fei. Xia Shaochan?" Xia Shaochan appeared and looked at Han Fei angrily. "Okay. I was robbing things down there, and you were squatting here waiting for the fish. Why didn't you go down?" Han Fei raised his eyebrows. "No, I didn't know you were down there." Then Han Fei patted his thigh. "That's right. In that place just now, Xia Shaochan had just robbed the 3 people and ran away. It was very logical that she appeared here to rob others." Han Fei looked at the entrance of the cave. "The people down there," Xia Shaochan shouted, "let's go. The fiery mountain tokens of the 3 people down there are all in my hands. As for the treasures, they have all been eaten by them. I can't hand them over." Han Fei was speechless. "That's really fast. Xia Shaochan, how many fiery mountain tokens do you have now?" Xia Shaochan replied telepathically without looking back, 37. "What about you?" Han Fei. Cell phone website. Chapter 264. Han Fei was dumbfounded. His head seemed to have been hit by an iron headfish. "How many?" Xia Shaochan said, 37. "It's not a big deal. Don't make such a fuss." Han Fei was speechless. He was amazed by Xia Shaochan's speed. How fast did she have to be to grab 37 fiery mountain tokens in one day? This was a little too much. Han Fei reluctantly said to her via voice transmission, 27 is a bit too few. No, I think we can put off looking for opportunities for a while. Let's go looting first, shall we? Han Fei had some guesses. Xia Shaochan grabbed 37, then what about the others? For example, how many did Luo Xiaobai grab? Although this girl didn't talk much, she was the most proactive one among all the people when she had a task and a goal. How many did Lu Renquan grab? Although this fatty was a foodie, it had to be said that when it came to fighting, he was indeed fierce. As for Zhang Xuanyu, Han Fei didn't think he could grab a few. As for a head-on fighter, he would have to fight with others for a fiery mountain token. So, there was no doubt that he should have the least. Han Fei took out the map and said, "Xia Shaochan, do you remember the map in the box we took from Master Turtle?" Xia Shaochan exclaimed and said, "Is it a map of the fiery mountain?" Han Fei nodded. "Of course. Come on, take a look. How many places have you looted?" Xia Shaochan took the map, looked at it for a while and said, "I've been to this place, and this place." In one breath, Xia Shaochan reported 8 points, which stunned Han Fei a little. Han Fei was speechless. "Is there any place you haven't been to?" Xia Shaochan tilted her head and looked up at the top of the mountain. "I haven't been to the top yet." Han Fei said gloomily, "Then let's go to the top." He didn't expect to go to those ordinary secret realms anymore. What the hell was this treasure map? It was useless at all. What the hell was the point? All the marked areas had basically been ravaged within a day. That was too much. And here he was, thinking that there were plenty of opportunities waiting for him. What the hell was this? However, Han Fei didn't think that when Master Turtle was a child. It was hundreds of years ago. At that time, most of the places in the Flame Mountain were really faded. It was just that after countless explorations, it had long been emptied. The top of the mountain, or to be precise, the middle of the mountain, was only a few hundred meters high, because the higher places had been sealed. Most importantly, this place was not a secret place. Since this was a tall and majestic mountain, those who could rush into the school of silver fish would naturally not stop at the foot of the mountain. Xia Xiaochan nodded. I didn't come up before because I felt that it was the most dangerous up there. However, I've seen that quite a few people have already come up. Should we go find Xiao Bai and the others first and wait together? Maybe they are already up there. Xia Xiaochan thought about it and found that it made sense. According to Luo Xiaobai's personality, she would probably go up directly, wouldn't she? However, Han Fei immediately said, "We have to be careful too. On the way here, I encountered 5 of the top 10 students of the 3 academies, and they are a perfect team. They are very strong." Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei in surprise. "How strong is it?" 50-50. Xia Xiaochan was briefly stunned. That was indeed very strong. On the mountain, because Han Fei had a map, he soon found a place with 3 protruding stones. It was unremarkable and didn't even have an entrance. However, when Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan arrived, they found that the spiritual energy within 100 meters was a bit chaotic. Xia Xiaochan asked, "Something's wrong." "It's here." "Where is the entrance?" Han Fei said, "Don't panic. We can definitely go in. Besides, I have the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. It can dig holes." She wondered how traumatized the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was to have such a master. Han Fei wandered among the 3 stones for a long time, touching them here and there. Before he could do anything, a pitch-black vortex suddenly appeared and directly sucked him and Xia Xiaochan in. Han Fei felt that waves of heat were blowing at his face. It was a bit like the corpse inlaid with the fire origin crystal that he encountered in the Fire Cloud Cave. It was very hot. There's no water? As soon as Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan landed, they felt dozens of breath. When he and Xia Xiaochan stabilized their bodies, they saw a huge gate 100 meters high, on which the words Fiery Mountain were engraved. On both sides of the gate, there was a couplet engraved with the words, "Pluck the heavenly fire, catch the spring and autumn." Han Fei only glanced at the door, only to be shocked by those words. Below the gate there were 72 stone platforms. At this moment, Han Fei saw that half of the stone platforms were already occupied, and many people looked at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan was pleasantly surprised. "Xiaobai is here." Han Fei saw that Luo Xiaobai was sitting on the stone platform closest to the front. At this moment, Luo Xiaobai said to Han Fei, "This place is weird. Don't fight. Find a random stone platform and sit down." Han Fei frowned. "Xiaobai, what's going on?" Luo Xiaobai responded, "Every stone platform is a seal. Once you come up, you can't go down. We may have to wait for the right time. Maybe we have to wait for all the stone platforms to be full. If we act rashly, we will be blown out of here." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan looked at each other and thought, is there such a weird setting? Fighting is not allowed. But it seems that it is not without benefit. Otherwise, if 67 of the 72 people are enemies, how can we fight this battle? Many people here looked at Han Fei and the others strangely, wishing they could attack them now, but the seals here were weird, so they could only give up. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan found a random stone platform and sat down. The moment they walked on the stone platform, an invisible seal instantly closed the area around the stone platform. Han Fei reached out and touched it, and an invisible barrier appeared around him. When he touched it with his finger, ripples appeared. Since he had nothing to do, Han Fei looked at the words on the giant gate. In fact, everyone was looking at these words. But some people couldn't bear to look at them after a few glances. Those words seemed to have some kind of magic power that made them unable to look at them for a long time. These words were all chiseled by hand and seemed to be carved on with a spear. Therefore, his words were filled with a murderous intent. After reading for about 5 minutes, Han Fei's eyes couldn't stand it anymore and he quickly closed his eyes. But data appeared in the demon purification pot. Saber manipulation technique remarks. A transcendent saber manipulation technique. The saber is infused with killing intent. When you comprehend the saber intent, you will be able to control a saber. When you master it, you will become one with the saber. Comprehension. 100 deduced art. Unknown deduction consumption. 010000000. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Is that even possible? I just read the words for 5 minutes and I comprehended a heaven-level combat skill? However, what surprised Han Fei was not the 10 million points of spiritual energy, but the meaning of the 2,100 points of comprehension? Could it be my own level of comprehension? That's not right. How the hell did I comprehend? I didn't even comprehend it, okay? After that, Han Fei quickly opened his eyes and looked at the words again. This time, he read them carefully. From the fiery mountain to the couplet, he read them word by word, stroke by stroke. Another 5 minutes later, Han Fei was almost in tears as he watched the video. His eyes were sore and he closed his eyes. And the information of the demon purification pot really changed. Saber manipulation technique remarks. A transcendent saber manipulation technique. The saber is infused with killing intent. When you comprehend the saber intent, you will be able to control a saber. When you master it, you will become one with the saber. Comprehension. 100 deduced art. Unknown deduction consumption. 080000000 inch hiss. Han Fei gasped. In just a few minutes, the deduction of spiritual energy had decreased by 2 million points. For a moment, Han Fei was very excited. What a good place! What treasures are we looking for outside? This is a treasure. No, I haven't even entered the gate yet and I've already encountered a heaven-level combat skill. No, I have to take a look at it before others come. Xia Xiaochan was sitting next to Han Fei. Seeing that Han Fei was a little emotional, she couldn't help asking, Han Fei, what's wrong with you? Han Fei said, it's okay. There is a saber intent on these words. Maybe it's an opportunity. Take a closer look. Cell phone website. Chapter 265. After another hour, 60 of the 72 seats had been occupied, but Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang hadn't arrived yet. Luo Xiaobai was rather anxious and spoke to Han Fei telepathically. Han Fei replied, don't panic. They might have been delayed. They're not idiots. They'll come. Read the words carefully. They're profound. It only took Han Fei 2 hours to study every word carefully. He even simulated how to write the words in his mind. At first, he only studied how to write the words, but later, he began to study how to write them with a knife. The more he studied, the more shocked Han Fei was. Every stroke seemed to be a technique with infinite variations. At this moment, Han Fei's understanding had reached 50%, and the deduction cost had been reduced to 3 million points. But Han Fei didn't stop. He read the words longer and longer, from copying them in his head to comparing them with the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. It was exactly because of Han Fei's movement that many people began to compare them. They seemed to have discovered the secret between the lines. Unfortunately, they couldn't look at the words for more than 2 minutes, and their eyes were so sore that tears flowed out. Another half an hour later, 2 people, one fat and one thin, fell from the sky. Following closely behind them were 5 figures. Han Fei knew all of them. They were Su Yebai's team. He didn't expect that they would chase Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang after failing to surround him. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, Han Fei, I knew that we would run into you. Let's kill the 5 people behind us. They're such bullies. Lurenquang's face was pale. You think we're outnumbered? Come on. I'll beat you to death. Han Fei said telepathically, shut up and sit on the rocks. Don't attack. Stunned, Zhang Xuanyu and Lurenquang looked at each other. Only then did he see the entire situation clearly, and he immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. 60 people were sitting cross-legged on the stone platform, and the two of them sat on the platform without hesitation. Su Yebai's team seemed to have received the message the moment they landed and stopped. The girl holding the hammer opened her mouth and said, "You can finally speak now. People of the 4th Academy, I'll be waiting for you." Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. Little girl, don't be too cocky. We're all here now, and I'll show you what real stick techniques are. Pooh! Han Fei's face was black. You've lost all my face, Zhang Xuanyu rubbed his head. Why are you all looking at me? She said my rod skills are not good, but my rod skills are not good? Is she kidding me? Shut up. However, the girl opposite him was so angry that she was trembling. She wanted to fight Zhang Xuanyu for 300 rounds right now. Lurenquang was dumbfounded. What are you doing? Han Fei said telepathically, don't talk. Copy the words on the door. Hurry up, when everyone is here, I don't think we'll have time to copy it. Lurenquang and Zhang Xuanyu looked at each other again. The two of them immediately sat down cross-legged, as if they had completely forgotten about the situation where they were being chased. The girl seemed to want to say something else, but she was stopped by the opponent's armorist. Zwa, go to the stone platform. The 5 of them were not slow. They were right behind Zhang Xuanyu and the others. When they sat on the stone platform, there were only 3 stone platforms left. However, at this moment, everyone really hoped that the last 3 people wouldn't arrive so soon, because they had just gained some understanding of the words on the door. At this time, someone's aura was fluctuating. For example, Lurenquang, who had just sat down, had been staring at the words on the door for less than 3 minutes. At this moment, a strong knife intent burst out from his body. However, his eyes continued to stare at the words on the door without taking a break. Many people were stunned by what they saw. Is he a monster? Han Fei was also shocked. Damn, is this guy born with knives? On the back of the rock-holding turtle, everyone else saw the picture, but he saw a knife. And now the words on the wall were full of knife intent, which seemed to fit him very well. Not long after, Kong Yunfei arrived. Seeing the 60 or 70 people here, he couldn't help but be stunned. After seeing Han Fei, Kong Yunfei took out a fiery mountain token and threw it to him. Here you are. From now on, you and I are even. Under the dumbfounded gaze of many people, Han Fei happily took the fiery mountain token. He actually kind of liked this guy. He was too straightforward. It was a pity that none of the other people who owed Han Fei fiery mountain tokens could come in. Han Fei couldn't help complaining. Come on, brothers. Give me a few that I've robbed, okay? Unfortunately, Han Fei didn't get what he wanted in the end. When he comprehended 60% of the knife intent on the door and the deduction cost was reduced to 2 million, everyone was here. The people who came later were 2 students of the 2nd Academy. As soon as they arrived, everyone was here. Someone shouted, Zhang Yi Lu Xian, get on the stone platform. The 2 of them seemed to be receiving voice transmissions from many people and were a little stunned for a moment, but soon they realized what was going on and even showed joy. The last 2 stone platforms were obtained by them. Boom! As soon as the 2 of them got on the stone platform, the door shook. In the next moment, the big words on the door suddenly burst out with dazzling golden light, and an extremely majestic momentum suddenly burst out from the word. What fell into everyone's eyes were countless knives, which seemed to be imprinted in everyone's mind with the momentum of splitting mountains and stones. Pooh! In an instant, dozens of people vomited blood. Then, an invisible force directly dragged these dozen people out of the stone platform and sucked them into a black hole. Don't panic, everyone. Stay alert. The strongest people of the 3 academies were all speaking and shouting at this moment. The pressure of this sudden knife intent was so strong that it seemed to be directly imprinted on people's souls and was going to kill them on the spot. Some people couldn't resist this momentum and were directly sucked away. God knew whether they were dead or alive. However, what happened just now was just the beginning. This golden light lasted for about a minute, and a total of 16 people were gone from the stone platform. Luo Xiaobai said to Han Fei via voice transmission, "Soul attack. Be careful of the next move." Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "I'm fine. Those people's souls were probably too weak." Lu Renkuang exclaimed, "That was close. We ate the soul resistance pearls, or we would have been in danger." "However, isn't a soul attack a spiritual attack?" Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "It seems so, but I don't think so. Let's talk about it later. Be careful now." Sure enough, when the golden light dissipated, an invisible golden knife floated in the void. As if it had a mind of its own, the knife suddenly swept across the air and aimed at everyone. Swish! The golden knife shot out. At first, it was a knife, but the next moment, it turned into a huge fish mouth. Han Fei could even see the teeth that were like small mountains. A tremor from the depths of his soul. Even Han Fei was a little horrified. He remembered the huge fish that swallowed the fishing boat. The feeling at this moment was the same, almost suffocating him. At this moment, Han Fei felt the little calabash on his wrist flash. Han Fei blinked subconsciously, but when he blinked, the big fish had disappeared. At the same time, many people around Han Fei disappeared. After 2 shocks, more than half of the 72 people were gone. Han Fei turned his head, only to see that Luo Xiaobai's face was a little pale, and she was gasping for breath. Lu Renkuang's whole body was tense, and beads of sweat were dripping. Xia Xiaochan and Zhang Xuanyu didn't look too good either, but it didn't seem serious. Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei. "There are only 24 people left." Han Fei was shocked. "What the hell is this place?" With just a few words, 2/3 of the people were killed, Luo Xiaobai said. "Those people shouldn't be dead. If it was so dangerous, the school wouldn't have let us come. These words are more like a test to see if we are qualified to enter the gate." Crack, crack, cracked. Hardly had Luo Xiaobai said that when the barrier around everybody was gone. At this moment, the 100-meter-tall gate emitted a heavy caw-caw sound. The sound seemed to come from thousands of years ago, and it seemed extremely ancient. The remaining 24 people quickly gathered together, and Luo Xiaobai, Lu Renkuang, and the others quickly came to Han Fei. Han Fei waved his hand and performed the divine healing technique. The light sprinkled, and Lu Renkuang snorted comfortably. "Whew! That was so frustrating. I was almost scared to death just now." Luo Xiaobai took a long breath in relief. "Thankfully we made it." On the other side, Su Yebai and the others gathered too. At this moment, they were looking at Han Fei and the others. Among them, the spirit gatherer was healing the others with healing technique. Han Fei, why is his healing technique different from yours?" Zhang Xuanyu was quite curious. They had been used to Han Fei's divine healing technique. So, they didn't know the difference between other people's healing techniques and Han Fei's divine healing technique at all. Han Fei pretended to think and said, "Maybe. He's not good enough." What made Han Fei amused was that the 4 of them all nodded as if they agreed with Han Fei. Luo Xiaobai cautioned, "Be careful. We're still in a disadvantageous position. We have to be careful." Cell phone station. Chapter 266. As Luo Xiaobai said, there were a total of 24 people present. Apart from the 5 of them, there were a total of 19 people. These 19 people could all be said to be enemies. Among them, 2 groups had been tricked by Xia Xiaochan. At this moment, they were staring at Han Fei's team. Xia Xiaochan said, "It's a bit difficult to fight 1 against 4, especially that group. If they attack, we can only escape into the gate." Xia Xiaochan didn't blindly believe in strength anymore. The opponents were indeed strong. At this moment, the 24 people who could stay were all elites and geniuses. Only 24 people from the 4 academies of the Blue Sea town stayed. What did it mean? Except for Han Fei's group and Su Yebai's group, Kong Yunfei and a guy wearing a mask were in a separate group, and the other 12 people gathered together. No matter whether they were from the same school or not, they were the weakest. Everyone knew that the 4th Academy was strong and 5 people shouldn't be their opponents, but what about 10 people? At this time, the girl with the copper hammer pointed at Zhang Xuanyu. "Little thief, run again." Zhang Xuanyu rolled his eyes. "Are you crazy? I just hit your butt with the rod. Don't tell me you've fallen for yours truly? I'm telling you, you're hopeless." Han Fei was speechless. "Zhang Xuanyu, how arrogant are you? You're still using your taunting skill?" The leading armorist looked at Han Fei and said, "Li Hani of the 1st Academy. In this situation, each of you will get 5 fiery mountain tokens, and we won't attack you." F***ck Zhang Xuanyu almost cursed. "Are you robbing us?" The other 12-person team didn't even consider getting along with Han Fei's team. Nearly half of them had been robbed by Xia Shaochan. This matter couldn't be solved by giving them fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei glanced at the gate that had been slightly opened and said leisurely, "Are you sure you can finish us before the gate opens? If you can't, have you considered the consequences?" Someone sneered, "Heh, there are only 5 of you. What can you do?" Han Fei sneered. On the way, the 4th Academy didn't take the initiative to kill anyone. "However, your decision now determines whether we will kill you later or not." Then Han Fei pointed at Li Hani and the others. "It's not easy to beat the 5 of them. But if we fight you, how many of you can survive?" When he spoke, he was talking to the 12 people. However, at the same time, he spoke to Luo Xiaobai and the other 4, "Go all out and kill Li Hani. Don't hold back." Luo Xiaobai and the other 3 were slightly shocked. Should they attack first? Without waiting for the 12 people to reply. In fact, Han Fei knew that these 12 people were not a problem. They were just a temporary group. They came from 3 different academies, and they weren't familiar with each other at all. They didn't cooperate with each other, and they couldn't even find a backbone. Was this a fight? Fight my A***s. Li Hani and the other 4 were watching from the side. They might make a move if they wanted to. This feeling made Han Fei very uncomfortable, as if he and the others were fish on the chopping block. Attach. Han Fei's face was still facing the 12 people, but the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had already attached itself to him, and the 9 heavens chains and the 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers were shot out at the same time. Lu Renkuang's armor box was immediately opened. Bloodthirsty broadsword, armor crisscross, vine explosion, giant arowana, blood-burning, mystic killing rod. Almost in an instant, the 5 of them focused on Li Hani. Holding the blue sea wandering dragon bow, Han Fei cursed, "Armorist? I don't care what level you are. How dare you threaten us? Who the F***ck do you think you are?" Swish, an arrow was shot out in an instant, and the spiritual energy arrow arrived in the blink of an eye. Li Hani's face changed drastically. No one expected that Han Fei and the others would attack first. And they attacked the 5 of them. Was this guy crazy? The 12 people over there were ready to attack. Didn't you see them? But at this moment, Li Hani didn't have time to think. The moment the armor box landed, 4 huge shields appeared in the air, directly wrapping him up. Holding the copper hammer in her left hand, she jumped up violently, and the huge pair of pincers outside her body blocked in front of Li Hani. At the same time, her body was covered with spiritual crystals, which seemed to be the ability of her spiritual beast. Among the other 3, the spirit gatherer couldn't even step on the water wall. Han Fei and the others attacked so fast that they didn't even give him time to react. Su Yebai's eternal night black spider appeared, but it only had time to spit out silk to entangle them and didn't have time to carry out the next move. As for the hunter who disappeared immediately, he had already encountered Xia Shaochan in the sky. Xia Xiaochan directly teleported over. Her sudden appearance gave him a fright. Beam, 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 clang, clang, clang. Rumble. Although Li Hani's defense was really strong, 2 of his 4 shields were directly destroyed by the sudden bombardment. The other 2 shields were spiritual weapons, but the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers were also spiritual weapons. At this moment, he was hacking the 2 shields crazily. Puff! Li Hani vomited a mouthful of blood, not because of anything, but because he was injured by a huge force. Han Fei had already shot the second arrow, and at the same time, he turned around and shouted at the 12 people, "Whoever dares to come here today, kill!" The 12 people had long been stunned. Han Fei attacked without thinking for a second. Was he so violent? On the other side, Kong Yunfei's eyelids shivered. Wasn't this B** starred too decisive? They actually made a diversion and caught Li Hani and the others off guard. As for the masked guy, he couldn't see his face, but his eyes were full of surprise. The second arrow of spiritual energy was shot out with 400 points of spiritual energy. It was very powerful, but it was useless against Li Hani. The spirit gatherer who realized what was going on had already set up a water wall and poured abundant spiritual energy into Li Hani's body. Zhang Xuanyu's mystic kill rod collided with Zuo's twin hammers. The enormous shockwaves caused ripples in the air. Han Fei's third arrow was already on the bowstring, and Su Yebai reacted quickly and dragged Li Hani away. In the next moment, one of the 2 shields was broken by the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers, and the other was blown away by an arrow. Zuo, who had just been blown back with Zhang Xuanyu, bounced on the spot. This was because an enraged blade had already neared him. It was aimed at Su Yebai. If nobody blocked it, Su Yebai wouldn't be able to resist it as a manipulator. Su Yebai shouted, "Watch out! You can't dodge it!" Zuo roared, "9 forged divine hammers! Bam, bam, bam! Bam, bam, bam!" Spiritual energy surged out of Zuo's arms, and she knocked the bloodthirsty broadsword away 9 times in a row. Lu Renkuang vomited blood immediately, his face pale. Of course, Zuo was even more miserable than Lu Renkuang. Her arms were bleeding from her hands to her shoulders. But at this time, Han Fei shot the 4th arrow. Not far away, Kong Yunfei narrowed his eyes. He remembered this arrow. It was so powerful that it was almost an attack of an intermediate great fishing master with all his spiritual energy. Li Hani waved his hand, and the remaining spiritual energy shield blocked in front of him. Bam! Li Hani was blown away together with his shield. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his arms were shivering. Han Fei roared, "Fury! Take my 5th arrow!" Li Hani almost went crazy. Are these people lunatics? They fought without any hesitation, and they fought with their lives. They were all killing moves at the beginning of the battle. Above him, a dragon roar shocked the whole cave, and a person was smashed to the ground with a bam. Xia Xiaochan showed up. Xia Xiaochan revealed herself. "Humph!" Su Yebai roared, "Han Fei, stop! Let's make peace!" Han Fei cursed, "Make peace, my A**s!" The 5th arrow was shot out with 3,200 points of spiritual energy, which was beyond Han Fei's limit. When the arrow was shot, it was as if a giant dragon made of spiritual energy was roaring out of its body. Li Hani took a deep breath. "I have a mountain that's as solid as a rock." A giant conical shell the size of a hill appeared out of thin air and took Han Fei's arrow head-on. Rumble, violent explosions. Jia, who was in the middle of a battle, was sent flying. Su Yebai and the spirit gatherer were almost unable to resist the blast. Han Fei shot a hole through the cone-shaped hill. Li Hani rolled dozens of times on the ground and vomited a lot of blood in a row. At the moment when the attack stopped, a huge spider grabbed Li Hani and the other 4 people and rushed into the crack of the door in the blink of an eye, running away. Han Fei cursed, "What the hell is this? How dare you threaten the 4th Academy? Even if I don't want the opportunity, I'll take it." The 12 people next to him looked at the sky and the ground, dumbfounded. Damn it, are we still going to fight? These people from the 4th Academy are all lunatics. Cell phones. Chapter 267. Han Fei and the other four's violent attacks deterred the rest of the people. How could the 12 people still have the intention to fight back? Based on the strength that Han Fei and the others showed just now, even if the 12 of them could win, they would at least lose more than half of them. Who would be stupid enough to fight them? Han Fei looked back at these people. Why, do you want to try? Humph. Come in. Someone ignored Han Fei. Compared with opportunities, fighting Han Fei and the others was an extremely stupid thing to do. Kong Yunfei took a deep look at Han Fei, turned around, and walked in without saying a word. But the masked guy didn't leave but looked at Han Fei and the others. Do you know who the people you just beat are? Han Fei was in a bad mood. I don't care who they are. And you, why are you wearing a mask? The masked man didn't care at all and said calmly, the armorist is named Li Hani, ranked 2nd in the top 100 list of the 3 academies, and his spiritual beast is mountain-carrying conch. The girl is Xiang Zuozhua, her spiritual beast is giant pincer shark crystal crab, ranked 3rd. The spirit gatherer Lin Xingmu, his spiritual beast is spirit crystal fish, ranked 7th. The hunter Zhongyu, his spiritual beast is blood guillotine, ranked 4th. As for Su Yebai, you should know him. His spiritual beast is eternal night black spider, ranked 8th. Han Fei and the others were slightly taken aback. Good heavens, they were really in the top 10. Luo Xiaobai's voice was cold. Why are you telling us this? What's your purpose? The masked man said leisurely, no purpose. I'm just amazed by your strength. You are indeed very strong. However, don't underestimate them. They were completely unprepared just now. Next time we meet, it won't be like this. With that, the man turned around and walked into the door. Zhang Xuanyu snorted. I don't think this guy is a good guy. He's wearing a mask and looks mysterious. Luo Xiaobai nodded. This person shouldn't be weak, but he's right. The 5 people just now were really unprepared. Next time we meet, it'll be hard to say. Lu Renquang said in surprise. Where is the first place in the top 100 list of the 3 academies? He must be very strong. Why isn't he here? Xia Xiaochan said, maybe he's in the crowd. There might be experts among the 12 people just now. Luo Xiaobai nodded. That's right. Those 12 people were temporarily formed by the 3 academies. Moreover, it was said that the number 1 on the list was not from the 1st academy, but the 3rd academy. This person is very mysterious. Han Fei wondered, could it be the one wearing a mask just now? From his words, there was a suspicion that he was trying to sow discord. I think it's very possible. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Anyway, let's go in first. Just a single sect here already had such a huge fortuitous encounter. I'm afraid the opportunities inside won't be small. Everyone nodded. Especially Han Fei. If there were no accidents, he should get the greatest opportunity. The same was true for Lu Renquang. As soon as he sat down, he moved. He might have benefited a lot too. Everyone walked through the door together, and waves of heat hit them in the face. Everyone's field of vision suddenly lit up, and they were immediately stunned. This space was incomparably huge. It was actually connected to the underwater volcano. Everyone was standing at the edge of the cliff. Looking forward, they saw a volcanic rock, and at the bottom was boiling lava. From time to time, it would gush out a few times. The most shocking thing was that in the magma there was a kind of creature that flapped its tail from time to time. Unfortunately, it was too far away, and their color was similar to magma, so they couldn't see clearly. And in the very center of this huge space, there was a palace floating in the air. The palace was shackled to the rock wall by hundreds of huge red chains. Han Fei and the others gasped. It was too shocking. This kind of shock was no less than when Han Fei saw the floating island for the first time. Although this palace was much smaller than the floating island, the environment was really shocking. Luo Xiaobai's face was slightly pale. My strength is suppressed. I can only exert 70% of my strength at most here. This couldn't be helped. Luo Xiaobai's strength was her vines. Although she could summon vines out of the void, it depended on where she was. The temperature here was extremely high. After standing for a while, everyone's foreheads were sweating. 5 blue sea wandering dragon daggers immediately appeared in front of Han Fei's eyes. Take one each. It should be able to resist the heat waves here. Everyone hurriedly grabbed the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. If they were outside, their hands would be frozen when they grabbed the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. In less than a minute, their hands would be covered with a layer of frost. But in this place, everyone only felt a wave of comfort. The surrounding heat waves had suddenly decreased a bit. Lu Renquang said, "Comfortable. Hey. But where are those people?" Xia Xiaochan said, Look at those chains." Everyone looked over, only to see people walking on the chains in the distance. However, these people were very slow and seemed to be walking step by step. Han Fei drew his dagger and slashed at the chain. But to his surprise, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers only left a shallow white mark on the chain. This was a spiritual weapon. Although it didn't have a sealed spirit, it was still a spiritual weapon, okay? Han Fei grabbed the chain with one hand, but then he retracted his hand and opened his hand, only to find that it was red. Han Fei said helplessly, "It's very hot, very hot." Everyone, Xia Xiaochan said, "Let me try." Attach Xia Xiaochan's contractual spiritual beast, the red fire tricky lobster, was in the nature of fire. She jumped and stood on the chain, and in just a few seconds, the soles of her shoes were burned through, and Xia Xiaochan became barefooted. Xia Xiaochan lifted her 2 little feet back and forth on the chain, and finally jumped to the ground. "Ah, it's too hot. What if I don't want to go?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "This should be a test. Look, someone is walking back over there." Everyone looked over, and sure enough, 2 people were looking back. One of them was unsteady, less than 20 meters away from the edge of the cliff, and his whole body was shaking. In the next second, this person's foot slipped. His whole body tilted, and he fell directly into the magma. Help me!" Seeing this scene, Han Fei and the others felt their blood freeze. They really didn't know what it felt like to fall into magma. Although they were all cultivators, if they couldn't even resist the chain, how could they resist the magma? However, it was hard to say. Han Fei estimated that if he fell in, he might not be burned to death. After all, as far as he knew, ordinary magma that overflowed was only about 1,000 degrees, and only the orange-red ones were more than 3,000 degrees. The one he was facing now was 3,000 degrees. But now his physique could resist magic weapons. Would he die if he fell in? Most likely, he wouldn't die. But would it hurt? His head would definitely explode from the heat. However, what happened next was even more chilling. Before the boy fell into the magma, a few strange fish jumped out of the magma. In the blink of an eye, they ate the boy in a few mouthfuls. "Goodoo!" Lu Renquang shivered. "Fei, lend me 2 knives." "Han Fei," Lu Renquang said, "I'll tie them under my feet. It should be okay to walk over like this, right?" Everyone. Zhang Xuanyu slapped Lu Renquang. "What kind of good idea are you coming up with?" "Ha, Fei, lend me 2 knives too." Xia Xiaochan added, "Me too." Even Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. Han Fei was also speechless. "That's too much. My blue sea wandering dragon daggers are spiritual weapons. Do you think they are your shoes?" Han Fei hesitated for a moment and dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers appeared. "Can you walk with a knife under your feet?" Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu nodded. Yes. Look at those people. God knows how they survived. They didn't even scream." Han Fei was puzzled. "It shouldn't be. Even if we walk up, we feel extremely hot and can't walk. There are many people here who are weaker than us. Why can they walk? Luo Xiaobai was silent, and Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu had begun to tie knives to their feet. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai said, "Fiery mountain tokens." Everyone frowned and immediately said, "Let me try." 28 fiery mountain tokens suddenly floated around Han Fei. Then, Han Fei jumped on the chain and said in shock, "Yes, fiery mountain tokens." Lu Renquang was shocked. "Damn! So many?" Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. "Fei, how many people have you robbed?" Luo Xiaobai and the others looked at Han Fei up and down, and Luo Xiaobai said, "Enough chit-chat. Look, there seems to be some kind of energy on the chain that is being absorbed by the fiery mountain tokens." Han Fei grabbed the fiery mountain token, only to hear a sizzling sound. Han Fei quickly let go of it and blew at his hands. "Damn! This fiery mountain token can absorb heat." Cell phone website. Chapter 268. Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu were both embarrassed, but they didn't intend to return the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers to Han Fei. They put their sabers behind their backs and almost cried out in pleasure. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Fei, try to see how many fiery mountain tokens you can walk on. The guy who fell down just now must have a fiery mountain token. But he still fell down. There's only one reason. He has too few fiery mountain tokens." Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Yes, let's have a try." Han Fei immediately collected half of the fiery mountain tokens, took a few steps, and felt that there was no problem. So he collected another 5 or 6. This time, Han Fei felt that his feet were a little hot. He quickly took out a few more. When the number of fiery mountain tokens was maintained at 10, Han Fei felt that it was just right. The feeling under his feet was like walking on an asphalt road in summer. Although it was hot, he could still walk after putting on his shoes. So in the end, Han Fei put the fiery mountain tokens down to 15. At this moment, he felt as if he were walking barefoot on the ground. It was neither cold nor hot. Han Fei said, "10 is a little hot, but 15 is like walking on the ground." Lu Renquang said with a sad face, "Lend me 7. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Lend me 6. Xia Xiaochan asked, "Xiaobai, how many do you have?" Luo Xiaobai said, "I appeared directly on the mountain. I only met one person, so I only have 2 with me." Xia Xiaochan waved her hand, and 13 fiery mountain tokens floated to Luo Xiaobai. "Okay, that's enough." Zhang Xuanyu immediately took a breath. "Xia Xiaochan, how many fiery mountain tokens do you have?" Xia Xiaochan said casually, 37. "Everyone," Luo Xiaobai said in surprise, "so many?" Xia Xiaochan said with a smile, "I happened to meet a lot of people, so I robbed them." Luo Xiaobai was slightly delighted. "Okay, the 5 of us have 84 fiery mountain tokens, almost 1/3 of the total. This means that even if the remaining fiery mountain tokens are with the other 19 people, they will only have 11 on average, which is almost impossible. For example, Li Hani and the other 4 also have a lot of fiery mountain tokens." Xia Xiaochan said indifferently, "That's none of our business. Anyway, we'll rob them later." Luo Xiaobai pondered for a moment and said, "If my guess is correct, you can leave as long as you have 5 or 6 fiery mountain tokens. For example, Xiaochan, you have an affinity with fire, so you may only need 5 pieces to pass through. So, most of these people should be able to make it through. We'll have a lot of opponents later." While everyone was talking, they saw another person fall from the long chain. The scene from before happened again. Lu Renquang shivered. "Forget it. 15 yuan is good enough. What if it's too hot in the middle? What if something went wrong on the way? It doesn't matter what others think, as long as we have enough, that's enough." So, they divided the fiery mountain tokens equally and jumped on the chain. However, after walking for less than 30 meters, everyone felt that something was wrong. The problem did not come from the chains under his feet, but from the gravity on his body. Lu Renquang was the first to shout, "Something's wrong. I feel that the pressure is getting heavier and heavier." Han Fei nodded. Me too. No wonder those people are walking step by step. They don't give them a chance to take advantage of the situation. Luo Xiaobai cautioned, be careful. Even if we reach the opposite palace, I'm afraid something else will happen. This chain is not the only test. The 5 of them gritted their teeth and moved forward step by step. In fact, as Lu Renkuang said before, when they were 100 meters ahead, they didn't feel anything under their feet. But when they walked for nearly 500 meters, their feet began to heat up. When they were nearly a kilometer away, their feet were slightly hot, and this was when each of them had 15 fiery mountain tokens. Suddenly, there was another scream. Someone's entire body was set ablaze and he fell down. This person didn't give up. He took out his fishing rod and tied the chain, trying to land again. However, with a chi-la sound, the fishing line also caught fire, and it snapped in less than a breath's time. Lu Renkuang swallowed. Han Fei, do you have any extra fiery mountain tokens? Can you lend me 2 more? Han Fei rolled his eyes. Ask Xia Shaochan for more. Xia Shaochan didn't care and immediately threw 2 fiery mountain tokens to Lu Renkuang. Fatty, you are the weakest. When we go back, it's time for you to temper your body. Lu Renkuang said aggrievedly, my body is actually very strong. It's just that I'm afraid of heat. You know that. Zhang Xuanyu snorted. Okay, don't take it for granted. As for the other guys in chains, I don't believe that each of them has 15 fiery mountain tokens. A total of 305 people came in, and all the fiery mountain tokens added up are not enough for 24 people to get 15 each. Lu Renkuang patted his chest. Fortunately, we have Han Fei and Xia Shaochan. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would be difficult for us to pass this chain. Everyone chatted with each other. When they walked for a kilometer, their feet became hot again, and the pressure on their bodies became heavier again. This force seemed to make sure that every step you took was solid, not giving you a chance to get away with it at all. On one of the chains separated by 7 or 8 chains, 2 people were set ablaze. However, these 2 people were brave enough to directly activate their spiritual energy protective covers. At the same time, they fused with their spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts to carry the chain. When Han Fei and the others walked forward for less than 500 meters, finally the 2 people also fell down. In the end, they still couldn't carry the chain. Han Fei was shocked. Opportunities represented opportunities for cultivation. To become stronger, there was always a price to pay. 24 people came in, and just walking on a chain, 5 of them had already died. This was arguably the strongest group of people in the 3 academies. When they walked for 2 kilometers, they seemed to have walked to the most central position. The chains here had already begun to burn their feet. At this moment, everyone's fiery mountain tokens had become red, as if they had just been taken out of the furnace. Luo Xiaobai said, let's continue. This should be the hottest place. Everything will be fine after we pass. Han Fei felt that he could persist. He looked back at Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang, only to find that the 2 of them were holding his blue sea wandering dragon daggers against their feet, touching the soles of their feet from time to time and showing a comfortable look. Look! Suddenly, Xia Shaochan pointed to a chain not far away. There was a guy on it, his whole body on fire. However, he walked faster and faster. On the other side, there were several people similar to him. And the closer they were to the palace, the denser the convergence points of the chains were. Han Fei saw Li Hani and the other 4 people, only to find that these people were nearly 500 meters faster than him. And the guy with the mask was even faster than Li Hani and the others. Han Fei's expression changed slightly, and he immediately said to Luo Xiaobai via voice transmission, speed up, in case they arrive first and then attack us. Luo Xiaobai was surprised. Can you speed up? Han Fei nodded. I can still bear the pressure. No problem. Xia Shaochan nodded. I'm fine with it too. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Even if I speed up, I can't catch up. Lu Renkuang didn't speak. I didn't hear you. You want me to speed up? Well, I have to be able to add it first. Luo Xiaobai said, you and Xiaochan go first. Our physiques are weak, so we can't speed up. Han Fei nodded, released his spiritual energy, and immediately ran on the chain. Xia Xiaochan was even more unbelievable. She flashed 100 meters away. The three people behind were dumbfounded. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes were dazed. I wonder if there are combat skills for this flashing ability? I really want to learn it. Lu Renkuang sighed. Han Fei's physique is really amazing. Even under such pressure, he can still run? On the other side, Li Hani and the others had obviously found Han Fei and the others. Seeing Han Fei running, they were also stunned. What kind of physique is this? Li Hani shouted in a low voice, speed up, we must arrive before them. The distance of less than 2,000 meters seemed to have become a death race, and the others who were still walking on the chain were dumbfounded. Some people who were slightly behind were speechless. Why the hell do I have to compete with these freaks for opportunities? Han Fei was running like an ordinary person, but Xia Xiaochan was a super athlete. Xia Xiaochan was a super athlete. With a swish, she moved forward 100 meters, much faster than Han Fei. 3 minutes later, Xia Xiaochan was the first to reach the end of the chain, and Han Fei had just finished 1,000 meters. Xia Xiaochan, on the other hand, was running to Li Hani's team. Su Yebai, who was in Li Hani's team, had turned into a giant spider and tied dozens of spider threads to the stairs at the end of the chain. He was running crazily too, but with the advantage of the spider threads and having multiple feet. Seeing that Su Yebai was the first to arrive, Xia Xiaochan snorted. You got me last time. Why don't you try poisoning me again? Xia Xiaochan disappeared. The next moment, a dagger and the next moment, a dagger suddenly appeared before Su Yebai. Cell phone website. Chapter 269. Supreme Stab. Swish, 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 a layer of crystal armor suddenly appeared in front of Su Yebai. With a clang, Su Yebai was flung away. He rolled a dozen times on the ground and vomited a mouthful of blood. Su Yebai was frustrated too. I'm just a manipulator, and you want me to fight a hunter? Or someone like Xia Xiaochan? How could they play ball? Not just Su Yebai, Lin Xingmu, a spirit gatherer in Li Hani's team, also vomited a mouthful of blood. Hoo! See gate. When Xia Xiaochan was about to attack again, Li Hani suddenly roared. A mystic light fell and turned into a gate, blocking Xia Xiaochan's attack. 1,000 threads. Su Yebai took the opportunity to perform a skill, and countless spider threads darted at her from all directions. The spider threads were fluorescent and full of venom. Xia Xiaochan flashed and appeared outside of the spider threads, but she lost the last chance to attack the enemy. At this moment, Li Hani finally arrived. His advantage of starting earlier than Han Fei's team was obvious. At this moment, Li Hani pressed his armor box to the ground, and spears flew in the air. Hiu. Unfortunately, Li Hani was not an armorist like Lu Renkuang, who focused on both offense and defense. The spears were fierce, but they couldn't touch Xia Xiaochan at all. Humph! You can dodge them, but can they? Then, the spears jumped at Han Fei, who was running wildly like a dragon. Bam! The phantom of a big seal appeared, and Han Fei, who was running, patted the spear with the water-stirring seal. The enormous force smashed the spear into the magma. Li Hani frowned. This Han Fei seems to be a bit strong. When he was less than 100 meters away from the other end, Han Fei suddenly accelerated. At the same time, he attached the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and nailed the 9 chains to the steps not far away. Han Fei jumped into the air, and 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers appeared next to him. The daggers fell like rain and cut through the sky. Li Hani sneered, and a turtle shell appeared before him. In his eyes, Han Fei's attack was meaningless. As the captain of this team, as an armorist, he was very confident in his armory. However, Han Fei sneered in midair. With a twist of the blade, The sky-covering spider web was instantly cut into pieces, and Xia Shaochan had already disappeared. Li Han shouted angrily, "Be careful." Su Yebai cursed in his heart. Why did he have to pick a fight with Han Fei? Especially the two in front of him, they were ridiculously strong. The 3 turtle shells landed in front of Su Yebai with loud thuds. At the same time, Spirit Chi flashed and a Spirit Chi armor appeared on Su Yebai's body. However, could the turtle shell protect Su Yebai? There was an explosion from the tortoise shell, and a dark green poisonous smoke came out from the cracks of the tortoise shell. At this time, Xia Shaochan was already dozens of meters away, her face pale. Li Han withdrew the tortoise shell, only to see Su Yebai kneeling on the ground with one hand covering his abdomen and a spiritual energy protective cover on his body. The crystal armors were all broken, and the crystal armors were drenched in blood. Lin Xingmu, the spirit gatherer on the chain, vomited blood again and staggered. Su Yebai's crystal battlesuit was his. Lin Xingmu was infuriated after being attacked again and again. Han Fei chuckled. "What's wrong? Where's the prestige of the 5 of you? Do you think a few turtle shells are enough?" Han Fei grabbed the water-stirring seal and charged forward. Li Han also made up his mind. No one knew whether it was a spear or a spear, but he kept shooting wildly. But Han Fei didn't even bother to block them. Although they had not completely lost weight, they were no longer fat. Their bodies were light and they were all fans. The others on the chains were dumbfounded by his actions. Swish, 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 the spears brushed past Han Fei's body. By the time Han Fei approached, Li Han had been covered in a round turtle shell shield. Clang! The water-stirring seal hit the shield with all its strength, and the sound echoed in the whole space. But then, Han Fei felt a huge recoil force which bounced him away. Li Han sneered. "Under the strongest defense, even if your strength is doubled, what can you do?" Han Fei narrowed his eyes and then shifted his gaze. Just when Han Fei shifted his gaze, he saw Su Yebai's 6 spider legs dashing away quickly, setting up countless spider webs in all directions. Han Fei, Xia Shaochan. Clang, clang, clang. Han Fei took a deep breath. "I don't care how strong your counterforce is. I'll smash it a few times first." Li Han was stunned. "You know the counterforce? Why are you still smashing it? Are you out of your mind?" However, Li Han didn't know that Han Fei's physique was ridiculously strong in addition to his strength. "You can resist my water-stirring seal, and I can resist the counterforce too. If I don't smash you to death, I'll shock you to death." Bam! 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 Then an amazing scene took place. Han Fei raised the big seal and smashed it, making the whole space buzz. In the end, Han Fei's arm was numb. Li Han, in the turtle shell, finally turned pale and vomited blood. At this time, the soul warrior named Xiang Zuozhua approached and shouted at Han Fei, "Han Fei, I'll fight you." Han Fei grinned and said, "Li Han, hand over all your fiery mountain tokens. Otherwise, none of them can come here." Li Han's face changed, and he tried to block Han Fei with a big shield. However, Han Fei slipped away with a twist. Holding the super big brick of the water-stirring seal, he smashed it at Xiang Zuozhua. Unparalleled hammer. In the sky, a shadow of a sledgehammer tens of meters in size smashed at the water-stirring seal. Rumble! Xiang Zuozhua let out a muffled groan and was sent flying dozens of meters away. Her nostrils were bleeding. And Han Fei also took 5 or 6 steps back, and his arms were numb. He shook his hand with great effort. This girl was strange. Her strength was so great that it was shocking. She was actually evenly matched with him? Xia Shaochan disappeared. Su Yebai's white spider silk snake shot over, each with venom on it. When they came close to Han Fei, the venom was vaporized. Han Fei shouted, "Xia Shaochan, retreat!" On Han Fei's side, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers danced wildly. Holding the water-stirring seal, he looked at Li Han and then at Xiang Zuozhua, shouting again, "Give me your fiery mountain tokens and I'll go. Otherwise, none of them can come here." but my people are about to arrive. Li Han glanced at Zhang Xuanyu, who was about to come over, and frowned. Although he was very strong, he was not a complete attacker like Lu Renquang, and his attack methods were almost useless against Han Fei, which was the key to the problem. If Zhang Xuanyu and the others came over, it would be really dangerous. Immediately, Li Han shot dozens of fiery mountain tokens at the middle cliff and threatened, "If Xia Shaochan snatches them, we'll fight to the death." Han Fei grinned and immediately shot out. "Could it be that I can really stop Xiang Zuozhua and the others? When the next member arrives, I won't be able to resist them." However, fortunately, he scared Li Han. Han Fei reached out and took 13 fiery mountain tokens into his pocket. In this way, he now had 97 fiery mountain tokens on his side. If there was no accident, he had already occupied the first place. After Han Fei collected the fiery mountain tokens, Xiang Zuozhua rushed to the cliff, and Zhang Xuanyu also arrived on the other side. At this moment, they didn't continue to fight, because the masked man on the other side had already stood up and watched the battle while Han Fei and the others were fighting. The others, such as Kong Yunfei, had also arrived. The others were also about to arrive. If they continued to fight, not to mention whether they could get the treasures or not, it was likely to cause a melee. At that time, if a group of people died first, it would be a mess. As soon as Zhang Xuanyu came ashore, he picked up his rod and looked ready to fight at any time. F***CK, you're finally here. Do you still want to fight? Han Fei scoffed. It's all over. If you had come earlier, I wouldn't have had to snatch a dozen fiery mountain tokens. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. I thought so too. Isn't my ability limited? I think I'm already fast enough. Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang are still 200 meters away. After a while, everyone was here. The previous 12-person team now only had 7 people left. Among these 7 people, one seemed to be seriously injured. His skin and flesh were all burnt, and he looked like a human barbecue. The spirit gatherer among these people was healing him. On the other side, Lin Xingmu was also healing Su Yebai and the others. At this moment, it was basically clear what everyone's abilities were. Aside from Kong Yunfei and the masked man, no one knew if the two of them had formed a group. In any case, the situation was in a stalemate and no one moved. Therefore, everyone turned their eyes to the front of the palace. On the door, a crimson plaque inlaid with gold-red Star Fire Pavilion. You can find this place as soon as possible. Mobile phone station,